Howdy, word nerds. Welcome to this podcast called The Dictionary. I think you probably know what it is. If you don't, go ask a friend. I strongly recommend that people do not listen to this podcast because it is utter nonsense. But if you're already here, what can I do? What can I do? I can't stop you. Okay, let's read the words. This is the last section of page 290. Before I get to the words, I have to say, if you could rate this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to this on, go ahead and do that. Apple Podcasts are the big one. Spotify, I know they have a rating thing now. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and message me, find me, tag me on social media. Twitter and Instagram is at dictionarypod. Email is dictionarypod@gmail.com. There is a Google Voice number to leave a voicemail. I know how those other podcasters feel when they have long credits. This is not credits, it's the other things, but it's a lot to say. Google Voice number, call and leave a voicemail. You can join the Patreon for as little as $1 a month, I think, to get early episodes. Audrey's just staring at me. Why are you staring at me? Okay. The first word in this episode is crackback. Crackback, one word, noun from 1967. A blindside block on a defensive back in football by a pass receiver who starts downfield and then cuts back to the middle of the line. Okay, let's just think about this again for a second. It's a crack back. The back is cracking back. It is a blindside block, so it's blocking on the person's blind side on a defensive back, on a defensive back. So is it the offense that's hitting them? By a pass receiver. Oh man, I don't know the roles. I know most of the rules, just not all the roles of the people and what they do. Starts downfield. Okay, and then cuts back to the middle. Yeah, okay. I need the X's and the O's. I need somebody to draw it out for me. Sound is going to be howdy. Next is crack brain. One word, noun from circa 1570. Sometimes I feel like I have a crack brain. Maybe a cracked brain. My sister did drop me when I was a baby, so that could explain a lot. Okay, this is just an erratic person. Synonym is crackpot. Crack-brained is an adjective. So I guess I say you could be cracked-brained, cracked-brained, yeah. Just an erratic person. I could be erratic at times. Mostly not, though, I don't think. Howdy. Next is crack down. One word, noun from 1935. An act or instance of cracking down. Audrey, let's go. Crack down. Howdy. Next is crack down. Two words. What? Yeah, you can do that. Two words. Intransitive verb from 1939. To take positive regulatory or disciplinary action. We got to crack down on all the people not cleaning up after themselves at the office break room. Howdy. Next is cracked with an ED, adjective from 1503. I kind of like what the spelling is for the pronunciation guide. It's Krakt. I think that would be a very great character name. Cracked. Okay, 1A, again, adjective. 1A, broken, as by a sharp blow, so that the surface is fissured, as in cracked china. I think they crack it on purpose, don't they? They will literally break some china, and then they glue it together with that, and they put that gold paint. Is the gold the glue, or do they paint over the cracks with the gold paint? It's something like that. I don't know exactly, but yeah, it's a very cool look, and each piece is completely unique because nothing's going to break in exactly the same way twice. Maybe we'll find some cracked china to put on the social media. 1B, broken into coarse particles. as in cracked wheat. Broken into coarse particles? What does that mean? I don't know anything about wheat and how to deal with it. 1C, marked by harshness, dissonance, or failure to sustain a tone. Marked by harshness, dissonance, or... Oh, I think this was the voice. Yeah, we were talking about this in the voice one yesterday. Let's see if I could find it real quick. Somewhere in there was something about the tone. Yeah, here, a broken tone of the voice. Not entirely sure what it is exactly, other than that voice crack. Number 2, for cracked, mentally disturbed. And the synonym is crazy. I guess I would say that's pretty similar to crack brain. They've cracked. Howdy. Next is cracker, noun from the 15th century. Number 1 is chiefly British. No, I don't. I'm so used to saying that. No, it's chiefly dialect. Somewhere, it is a bragging liar. A cracker is a bragging liar, as in the synonym boaster. Cracker. Interesting. I wonder why they use that there. Wherever there is, I don't know. It doesn't say. 2, something that makes a cracking or snapping noise, as 2A, the synonym is firecracker. 2B, the snapping end of a whiplash. It does crack. I did not realize people called it a cracker, but yeah, it cracks. Synonym for that is snapper. 2C, a paper holder for a party favor. That's an interesting line. A paper holder for a party favor that pops when the ends are pulled sharply. Yeah, I think it's mostly... I guess it depends on what this party favor... If it is what I think it is, what they're talking about, I think that's more common in Britain, UK, Europe. I think they do that for like Christmas or something. There's these paper popping cracker things. 3 is plural crackers, and the synonym is nutcracker. Something's got to crack those nuts. We're going to crack down on those nuts. 4, a dry, thin, crispy baked bread product that may be leavened or unleavened. I guess all the crackers I can think of, I would have assumed that they were unleavened, but maybe some of them are leavened. What would be a leavened cracker? How thick would it be? Would it be like 5 crackers thick? If you know of any leavened crackers, let me know. 5A is usually disparaging. It is a poor, usually southern white. And I believe that has expanded to not necessarily southern and also not necessarily poor, just any white person. I think usually these days it's used more as a joke, but sometimes definitely it can be used disparaging. So just maybe don't use it, I guess. I don't know. Depends on the case. 5B is capitalized, a native or resident of Florida or Georgia, and this is used as a nickname. Okay, I was not... Is this like the, what is it? Nebraska, they're the corn huskers. I remember thinking, well, are there going to be other states' nicknames in here? Here's one, Cracker. Now, do they call themselves Crackers? I had no idea that Florida and Georgia, they were called Crackers. That has to be related to the, it's 5A and 5B. It's the poor, usually southern white. So, there you go. Number 6, the equipment in which cracking, as of petroleum, is carried out. The equipment in which cracking is carried out. Oh, yeah. Let's see. I think yesterday there was something about gas. Where was it? I'm not going to be able to find it, but you can go back and listen. So that it's the equipment is used cracking. Because I didn't know you crack with the gas or something. I still don't understand it, but at least I get in some context. Number 7, it is the number 4 definition for the word hacker. They call them crackers? Oh, yeah, crack the bank code thing. Crack that password, you hacker. Howdy. Next is Cracker Barrel. 2 words with a hyphen. Adjective from 1916. suggestive of the friendly homespun character of a country store, as in a Cracker Barrel philosopher. Who would be a Cracker Barrel philosopher? Somebody just sits there hanging out and gives their thoughts on life. This is from the Cracker Barrel in country stores. So, the only Cracker Barrel I know of is the store that you see next to the highways all over America. Well, it feels like it's all over America, but maybe they're localized. So I'm aware of that, but I'm assuming that store chain came from just these old country stores that would have a Cracker Barrel in them. So they were just called Cracker Barrel stores. And then a company said, hey, we're going to use that name to make money. So we're now Cracker Barrel. It's just suggestive of people who hang out there. Maybe they say howdy on this fine summer's eve. Next is Cracker Jack, one word. It could also be crack-a-jack. Huh. I don't know if I've heard that. Maybe I have. There's probably a debate. Do you say crack-a-jack or cracker-jack? Maybe I should put a poll on Twitter. Cracker-jack, crack-a-jack. With which will be A and which will be option 2? I don't know. Noun from 1893. A person or thing of marked excellence. Oh, you're such a crackerjack. Crackerjack is also an adjective. This is probably an alternative of crack plus jack, which is man. So crack man. Crack man. He's a man. Yes, it's showing me which it's the third form of superior excellence or ability. That man is a crack. It's a crack jack. Howdy. Crackerjack is next again. 2 words. First letters are capitalized. It is a trademark. It's used for a candied popcorn confection. There is also debate, not debate, but it's some people feel very strongly that in the song, the baseball song, whatever it's called, it's the Cubs song. Take Me Out to the Ball Game. A lot of people say Cracker Jacks, but it's technically Cracker Jack. So, you've been warned. Some people may come at you about that. Howdy. Next is crackers. Adjective from 1928. The synonym is crazy. I'm crackers for crack brains. That was the other one that was sort of like that. Yep, that is crackers. I feel very crackers. Howdy. Next is crackhead. Noun from 1986. I think I sounded a little bit too excited to say crackhead. I did not mean it that way. It's just how it came out. Just one who smokes crack is a crackhead. And then, if we're going to connect that to something previously, we would connect that to the last word of the last episode, which was crack baby. We are not trying to make, as in all the thoughts in my head, we are not trying to make light of people who are crackheads or crack babies. It's just looking at the world in this way. Okay. Howdy. Where might a crackhead be? They might be in a crack house. 2 words from noun from 1985. A house or apartment where crack is made, sold, or used. You gotta find a place to do all those things. And that would be a crack house. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Next is the first form of cracking. Adjective from 1830. It is very impressive or effective. And the synonym is great. And the first quote that I always think of when I think of, this word, but also just Wallace and Gromit, is where some crazy stuff happened and Wallace eats Gromit's toast and he says, "Cracking toast, Gromit." And there's a video that's out there somewhere of the animator, I think it's Nick Park, who created Wallace and Gromit. There's a video of him animating that scene and talking about how long it takes to create animation in general, but stop motion animation, how you will maybe finish 2 seconds in one day because it can be so time consuming. And so, I love that line anyway from whichever short it was, but to see it created was very cool. And it's just such a short line. Okay. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Second form of cracking, adverb from 1903. The synonyms are very and extremely, as in a cracking good book. Yeah, that's very similar to the last one, which was an adjective, and this was an adverb. So, grammatically, you use them differently. Howdy. Third form of cracking, noun from 1868, a process in which relatively heavy hydrocarbons are broken up by heat into lighter products, as gasoline. So we have learned now what cracking is? A process in which relatively heavy hydrocarbons are broken up by heat into lighter products. So it's the process of fission. Nuclear fission is where the particles, the molecules are breaking apart, and that releases energy. This is a similar idea, but it's these hydrocarbons in gasoline. Okay. Idwa. That is how you say howdy backwards, because I know you were wondering. Next is crackle, first form, verb from circa 1560. 1a, to make small, sharp, sudden, repeated noises, as in the fire crackles on the hearth. That is, everybody agrees, that is one of the best sounds in the world. Just the sound of a fire crackling. 1b, to show animation, and the synonym is sparkle, as in the essays crackle with wit. That wit is animated in the essay. 2, it is the number 3 definition for the word craze. Those were intransitive, yes, and now we have a transitive, to crush or crack with snapping noises. Cracklingly, that is an adverb. That's hard words for the mouth to make. Idwa, second form of crackle, noun from 1833. 1a, the noise of repeated small cracks or reports. A report can be a sound, a noise. 1b, the synonyms are sparkle and effervescence. Number 2, a network of fine cracks on the otherwise smooth surface. And those fine cracks, as we have seen in the last couple episodes, they would be called fissures. It's just a fun word to say. Fission, we said nuclear fission is where the molecules are breaking apart. And so a fissure is something where it has broken apart. What's the etymology of that? I don't know. Well, when we get to the FISS, we'll find out. Okay, I think we finished that. So, howdy. Crackleware is next. It is a W-A-R-E, noun from 1881, ceramic ware with a decorative crazed glaze? So is it like a crazy glaze? I don't know what a crazed glaze is. That must be a technical term for ceramics. And our last word, howdy. It is crackling. So we had cracking before and crackle, but now we have crackling. Noun from 1599. 1, a series of small sharp cracks or reports. Again, what are these reports? As in the crackling of frozen snow as we walk. That, especially when it's ice, it's melted maybe, and then there's some ice that you can step on and crack. That also is one of the greatest sounds. And very satisfying. 2, let's see, crackle. You could also say cracklin for number 2. It is the crisp residue left after the rendering of lard from fat or the frying or roasting of the skin, like pork skin. And I'm going to move right along other than it's usually used in plural. Okay, So the words in this episode were crackback, crack brain, crackdown, crack down, cracked, cracker, cracker barrel, cracker jack, crackers, crackhead, crack house, crackle, cracking, crackle, crackleware, crackling. Well, there's a couple that I'm looking at. Maybe that one, maybe that one. Well, they are crackers and crack brain. I think I like crackers better. I like crackers better, crackers better, crackers. Okay, that is the end of this something, and we have finished page 290, and I will see you all in the next episode on the top of page 291. Okay, this has been Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. This is the show where I read this book and then tell you what I think when I am so inspired to say something about a thing I read. Okay, the first word is crackly. Crackly. Adjective from 1732, inclined to crackle, and the synonym is crisp. Next is, oh no, you can't say it before you do a sound effect. We're just going to say, sup. Cracknel is next. Crack, N-E-L. Noun from the 14th century. 1. A hard, brittle biscuit. A hard, brittle biscuit. Number 2. It is the number 2 definition for the word crackling, which, where is that? Crackling, number 2. Oh, I was looking at the wrong one. That is the crisp residue left after, it's the pork. The pork one. Cracknel, that's that. What's up? Next is crackpot, noun from 1883, one given to eccentric or lunatic notions. Well, like what? There are no lunatic notions. Is lunatic from Luna, the moon? Like they thought that the way, because of the position of the moon, that people would go crazy? Is that? I feel like I heard that before. Crackpot is also an adjective. I hope I'm never called a crackpot. You're not doing great if somebody's calling you a crackpot. What's up? Next is cracksman, noun from circa 1812. The synonym is burglar. Also, the synonym safecracker. Cracksman. I thought it was going to be like somebody who was a really good shot. Okay. Cracksman, because they crack the safes. There we go. Okay. Moving on to sup. Next is crack up. 2 words with a hyphen. Noun from circa 1926. 1. Synonyms are crash and wreck. As in an automobile crack up. I don't think I would call a vehicle accident a crack up. Crack just seems too light for automobiles. 2A, a mental collapse. The synonym is nervous breakdown. Nervous breakdown dancing. As in, his wife's death brought on his crack up. Yeah, that would probably happen to me too. Yep, I would become a crackpot, possibly. 2B, the synonyms are collapse and breakdown. What's up? Next is crack up. 2 words, transitive verb from 1829. That is what we are starting with. Number 1, synonyms are praise, and the number 4 definition for the word tout, T-O-U-T. My phone will not stop buzzing. That does not mean I'm popular. As in, wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. You could probably put that in a review about this podcast. Number 2, to damage or destroy a vehicle by crashing. To damage or destroy by crashing. That vehicle, again, it got cracked up. As in, crack up a car. Who says that they cracked up their car or they got into a crack up? Do they? I don't know. Number 3, to cause to laugh out loud, as in that joke really cracks him up. What's your favorite joke? I have a handful of jokes that sort of crack me up. They must have cracked me up enough for me to actually remember them. Yeah. Okay, now we have intransitive. 1, to damage or destroy a vehicle, as by losing control. Again, just cracked up. As in, cracked up on a curve. 2, to laugh out loud is to crack up. I have definitely had a few moments where I very majorly cracked up. I would call them laugh attacks. Middle school was probably the most common time. I had one in the middle of a class in 6th grade. For some reason, I could not stop laughing. Something made me laugh so hard, and that was it. It just set me over the edge. Good times. It's been a while. It's been a little while. Every once in a while, I'll still get one. Okay, we have completely lost our place. Okay, that was crack up. Sup? Next is a suffix, crassy or crossy, C-R-A-C-Y. It does not have a year. 1, form of government. Also, state having such a form, as in monocracy, or you could maybe say monocracy. That probably makes more sense. What is a monocracy? Where was just one person rules? Isn't that a dictatorship? Maybe they're the same thing. There's another one. Autocracy? There's another one, I think. Number 2, social or political class. As of powerful persons. And the example is mobocracy. What is that? It's a social or it must be a type of social or political class. M-O-B-O, mobocracy. 3, theory of social organization, as in technocracy. So there are different kinds of theories of social organization. What are some other ones? The brain just does not want to come up with any. I'm trying to be smart, but I'm just not. Okay. Let's move on to the first form of the word cradle. Noun from before the 12th century. 1a, a bed or cot for a baby, usually on rockers or pivots. Pivot. 1b, a framework or support suggestive of a baby's cradle, as 1b1, a framework of bars and rods. 1b2, the support for a telephone receiver or handset. Got to put on the phone cradle. People don't use this anymore. So rarely are we putting a phone on a cradle. 1c, an implement with rods like fingers attached to a scythe and used formerly for harvesting grain. Cradle. I gotta see this. I know a scythe. I know what that is. There's another thing that's similar to a scythe, I think, but I don't think it's is it a cradle? Maybe it is. We'll look it up. We'll look it up, maybe post a picture. 1d, a frame to keep the bedclothes from contact with an injured part of the body. A frame to keep the bedclothes from contact with an injured part of the body. Maybe it's bleeding. Got to put it in a cradle so the injured part doesn't mess them up. 2a, the earliest period of life. The synonym is infancy. And they call it that because you are literally probably in a cradle. So they call it the cradle stage, the cradle of life. I don't know. As in, we have an example. From the cradle to the grave. Yep, from the beginning to the end. Yep, that is the path that we all take. Can't wait to see what happens. 2b, a place of origin, as in the cradle of civilization. Again, that's because where it began. Can't get the words out. The infancy of the civilization, the beginning of it. 3, a rocking device used in panning for gold. Why do they call it a cradle? Well, let's look at the etymology to see. They call both of those things, the thing you put the baby in or the thing for gold or some sort of framework. It is perhaps akin to the Old High German krato, which means basket, from Sanskrit grantha, which means knot, Knot. So they probably made a basket out of knots to make a cradle for the babies. I feel like when we see, oftentimes, at least recently, when we see Old High German, it is often followed by Sanskrit. I know it's happened at least once recently. I wonder if they're more connected somehow than maybe Latin, French, Old English. Okay, sup. Second form of cradle. This is a verb from the 15th century, starting with transitive 1a, to place or keep in or as if in a cradle. 1b, the synonyms are shelter and rear. 1c, to support protectively or intimately, as in cradling the injured man's head in her arms. 2, to cut with a cradle scythe, and you might be cutting grain, to cut grain with a cradle scythe. 3, to place, raise, support, or transport on a cradle. And then intransitive is obsolete, to rest in or as if in a cradle. What's up? Next is cradle cap. 2 words, noun from circa 1890. A seborrheic condition in infants that usually affects the scalp and is characterized by greasy gray or dark brown adherent scaly crusts. I hope that when they get out of the cradle that this just goes away and it's just a temporary thing. That sounds not great. I wonder how bad it is. Seborrheic, I would assume is how you say that word. Seborrheic. Could be seborrheic, but I don't think so. It's the cradle cap. It's the cap. It looks like it's something on your head, and you get it in the cradle, so it's a cradle cap. Sup. Next word is cradle song. 1 word, noun from the 14th century. The synonym is lullaby. But the lullabies are about the babies falling out of trees, so that's not very nice. Sup. Next word is the first form of craft, noun from before the 12th century. 1, skill in planning, making, or executing, and the synonym is dexterity. You have skill in planning, making, or executing. Very dexterous in that skill. Crafty. Okay, 2a. An occupation or trade requiring manual dexterity or artistic skill. This is why I don't have a craft. I don't have those things. As in the carpenter's craft. Also as in the craft of writing plays. Also as in crafts such as pottery, carpentry, and sewing. They're just trying to get as many examples of things for me to feel jealous about that I can't do any of them. 2b is plural. Articles made by craftspeople. The craftspeople make crafts. As in a store selling crafts. Do I want to emphasize the T or no? Crafts. Also as in a crafts fair. I feel like you have to say the T. A crafts fair. Number 3, skill in deceiving to gain an end. Skill in deceiving to gain an end. Very skilled in deceiving, as in used craft and guile to close the deal. Craftiness, craft and guile. Yeah, I don't know. People do it. I would think not to. I don't like deceiving. Number 4, the members of a trade or trade association. 5 is plural. Oh, the plural is usually also just craft. Craft or craft, singular, plural. So 5a, a boat especially of small size. Look at all them crafts. My grandpa has made multiple crafts by hand. He made a kayak, and then he made canoe, and did he even make a tiny little sailboat? I don't know. I could be wrong on that one, but he definitely made a kayak and a canoe, and it was very impressive. Ooh, okay, we read that, and 5B, the synonym is aircraft. 5C, the synonym is spacecraft. We got the water, boatcrafts. We got the air, aircraft, and spacecrafts. I guess that's it. Those are all the crafts. A synonym for craft is the word art. Just art. Sup? Second form of craft is a transitive verb from the 15th century, to make or produce with care, skill, or ingenuity, as in, is crafting a new sculpture. Also as in, a carefully crafted story. Crafter is a noun, and if you haven't watched the show Make It with Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman, you have to go watch that show. It is very heartwarming and fun and amazing to see people's skills in their crafting skills, and everybody's just great and nice, and Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman are just silly and funny and work great together. It's a very fun, heartwarming show. Sup? Yeah, sup. Okay, we have one more for this episode. It is craft beer, 2 words, noun from 1986. A specialty beer produced in limited quantities. You dummy. A specialty beer produced in limited quantities. And the synonym is microbrew. It's very small because it's probably being made by 2 guys in their apartment. And it's very crafty. That is their craft. From 1986, that's when people started doing it. Maybe was that when technology was good enough where they could, make very small batches? I know lots of people who do this. I have not so much interest in doing it, mostly just because I don't care for beer. I have thought about doing it for a cider. I just have not gotten around to that. Maybe someday. Maybe I will experiment with making and flavoring my own cider. All right. That's all the dictionary portion of this. I will say I finished Mr. Corman. I enjoyed it. The last episode was very good and interesting, unique episode. I really liked it. I'm watching the 4th season of Disenchantment because that just came out, and I'm trying to binge it because you need to watch them all together. All the seasons, even if you can, wait until the show is over and then just watch it from the beginning, because it's like one big story. So I forget what happened in the previous season, but it's good. It's fun. It's adult, not a lot of kids jokes, more so adult jokes, but it's sort of family friendly. Maybe high school aged. Yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's clever. Okay, that's all that I got to say to you in this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I do mean that. If anybody's listening, I very much appreciate you, because I'm just talking out to the air. This has been Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. How are you doing? What is up with you? I can't think of new things to say when I'm sitting here recording the dictionary. Okay, the first word in this episode is craftsman. Craftsman. Yeah, I don't really emphasize the T too much. craftsman. Craftsman. Noun from the 13th century. 1. A worker who practices a trade or handicraft. And handicraft is spelled with an I instead of a Y. Maybe when they combine the words handy and craft, you're legally required to change it to an I. 2. One who creates or performs with skill or dexterity, especially in the manual arts, as in jewelry made by European craftsmen. And obviously, this can be men or women. We will actually see craftswoman soon. We'll see that shortly. But in fact, we have a whole fun little craft section here. A craftsperson. Ooh, no, spoilers. Hold it back. Okay, craftsman-like is an adjective. Craftsmanly, I think it's funny that, well, craftsmanly is an adjective. I think it's funny that the word manly is in there. And then craftsmanship is a noun. Maybe the craftsman made the ship that they are all sailing on. What is going to be the sound effect today? Squiddy. Sure. Next is craftspeople. One word, noun from 1953. Workers who practice a trade or craft. Yeah, I'm not so good with the crafts. I took a couple ceramics classes when I was younger. They were okay. It was fine. Not something that I was interested enough in to keep it going. I never made jewelry. I never did woodworking of any kind. I did get some wood carving tools, and I tried it a couple of times, and it's very difficult. It's hard. Okay, I'm always looking for the thing that I might be really good at, and I'm pretty sure that it does not exist. Okay, next word, squiddy. It is craftsperson, noun from 1920. This is the singular form of the last word, craftspeople. Craftsperson is a craftsman or craftswoman. And squiddy. Next word is craftswoman, noun from 1886. 1. A woman who is an artisan. And 2. A woman who is skilled in a craft. Now, it's interesting that these definitions are different than the ones for craftsmen. Craftsman is a worker who practices a trade or handicraft. And number 2 is one who creates or performs with skill or dexterity. The man version is much more specific, I feel like, than the woman. Or maybe it's more generic. I don't know. But yeah, they're different. Why? Is craftsman just a word that we use for everybody? I think it is. And so, they want to get more information in that one, I guess. But yeah, okay, fine. Book, whatever. Okay, squeedly doop boop. Next is craft union, 2 words, noun from 1922. A labor union with membership limited to workers in the same craft. And then compare to industrial union. So would industrial union be a labor union with membership limited to workers of the same industry? Craft union. So is there a jeweler's union, a ceramics union? I don't know about that. Squealoop. Next is crafty. Adjective from before the 12th century. 1. Synonyms are skillful and clever. 2a. Adept in the use of subtlety and cunning. Like a crafty fox, a crafty warthog. 2b. Marked by subtlety and guile, as in a crafty scheme. And a synonym is the word sly. Craftily is an adverb, and craftiness is a noun. I guess I would have expected it to be more about making crafts than being cunning and sly and clever. Okay. Good times. Next, squealip. It is crag. C-R-A-G, first form, noun from the 14th century. 1. A steep, rugged rock or cliff. I imagine I've been to Iceland, and there are definitely some craggy areas. Number 2 for crag, archaic. A sharp, detached fragment of rock. Cragged, with an ed, that is an adjective. This is from Celtic origin, akin to the Welsh word crag, spelled like the name Craig, C-R-A-I-G, and that just means rock. A crag, it's just a rock. And I don't think I missed any other etymology this episode. So that is crag. Next, it is the second form of crag, noun from the 14th century. This one is chiefly Scottish, and the synonyms are neck and throat. Why? Well, it says it is from Middle Dutch, crag, C-R-A-G-H-E. It is akin to the Old English craga, which means throat, and there's more at the word craw. Yeah, I've heard craw, like, oh, go shove it in your craw, like your mouth. But neck and throat, okay, so the Old English, that makes sense. How do they use this? How do the Scottish people use this? If they literally just say, I got something stuck in my throat, do they say, I got something stuck in my crag? And I'm not doing a Scottish accent because that's very difficult. Maybe they do. Okay, next. Squeedoop. It is craggy. C-R-A-G-G-Y. Adjective from the 15th century. 1. Full of crags. Now, are those rocks or throats? We have an example. Craggy slopes. Craggy slopes. There's just lots of rocks. Number 2, the synonyms are rough and rugged, as in a craggy face. Rough and rugged also as in a craggy voice. Yeah, rough and rugged, that makes total sense. I can absolutely visualize a face that is rough and rugged and a voice that is very rough and rugged. Luckily, neither one of mine, I think, are like that. Maybe someday. I hope someday my face and voice are craggy. Let's see. Where were we? Craggily, that is an adverb, and cragginess is a noun. But is the face filled with rocks? No, it just looks like it's been pummeled with rocks. Next, squeedoop. It is cragsman. Noun from 1816, one who is expert in climbing crags or cliffs. That man loves to climb those crags, so they are a cragsman. Obviously, it can be a woman too. We just are using this very old term. Maybe we can come up with a new one, a new word, a new suffix that we can put to the end of words that means a person who does this thing, and it's not genderized in any way. Does one exist? If it does, I can't think of it. Next is crake. C-R-A-K-E. Noun from the 14th century. 1. Any of various rails, especially a short-billed rail as the corn crake. And it must be a bird. I do kind of remember corn crake, and then if it's short-billed, that must be the thing, its mouth. That's what we're talking about. And then number 2, the corn crake's cry. Wow, that's hard to say. The corn crake's cry. That is also just called a crake. The corn crake makes a crake. This is from Old Norse kraka or kraka with K's. That means crow. Also from cracker. Okay, so crow, their word for crow is K-R-A-K-A. And then this other word, K-R-A-K-R, cracker. Is that how you say it? Any of you Old Norse speakers, let me know. Cracker means raven. And of course, we know, corvid, the crows and the ravens are very much related. They're very similar animals. So yeah, cracker, not surprising that they have similar words. Also akin to the Old English crawan, which means to crow. So that is where this word crake comes from. Is it related to crows and ravens? Is a crake a corvid, or is it just some other bird? I'm not sure. Next. Cram, C-R-A-M, first form, verb from before the 12th century, starting with transitive. 1. To pack tight. Synonym is jam. You've been crammed. So if you got to cram a whole bunch of stuff, I just used the word in my example. If you need to shove a whole bunch of things into your suitcase, you got to cram it. You got to sit on it. Somebody maybe needs to help you with the zipper. Oh, look, the example. Cram a suitcase with clothes. Also is in a novel crammed with surprises. What kind of surprises are these? Maybe maybe confetti pops out when you turn a page. If somebody could make a book like that, I would not want it because I don't like confetti and glitter. None of that, please. Maybe there's some other surprises that a book can have. This dictionary book, is full of surprises on every single page for me because there's so many words that I don't know and etymology that I don't know. I love learning these things. Okay, 2A for cram. To fill with food, to I don't know how to say this word. Satiate? Nope. So if you were, oh boy, I'm like blanking on the word I have been satiated. Okay? That means I'm full. I'm not hungry anymore. I have been satiated. Okay? So this word is Satiete. How do you pronounce that? Satiety? Satiety? I don't want to go look it up. I really want to figure this out, but I don't think I'm going to. To fill with food, to satiety. Satiety. Oh, we are going to stop with this one. The synonym for that is the word stuff. The Oreos, the double stuff Oreos have been crammed with the white stuff. Stuff. Okay. To be, to eat voraciously. And the synonym is bolt, B-O-L-T. I don't think it's a very good idea to eat voraciously. I think you gotta take it slow. Chew your food, put your utensils down while you're chewing, and then have another bite, and then chill. I mean, I don't eat like that, but I also don't eat voraciously. I will get too full. I will get the hiccups. It's very bad. We have an example. The child crams her food. Kids who grow up in a household with lots of other kids, I think they learn to just cram their food because there might be a limited amount, and they need to make sure that they get their food. Otherwise, another kid might eat it for them. 3, to thrust in or as if in a rough or forceful manner, as in crammed the letters into his pocket. And then they're going to get all wrinkly, and nobody wants wrinkly letters. 4, to prepare hastily for an examination, as in cram the students for the test. Wait, is that sentence correct? Cram the students for the test? I guess if you're a teacher, you are cramming the information into the students' brains for the upcoming test. I usually think of it as, well, we're going to get there, actually. So here we go with intransitive. 1, to eat greedily, or to, here's that word again, satiety. And then again, the synonym is stuff. 2, to study a subject intensively, especially for an imminent examination. Yeah, that's the one that I think of. Students cramming the night before a test, trying to fill their brain. It's not good to do this. I think I've heard that if you have to do it, that's one thing. If you have to do it, you have to study all night. But what people do is that they will study all night and maybe they won't sleep much. And that's a problem because sleep is very important. What happens when you sleep is that you actually retain the information better when you sleep, especially if you get a full night's sleep. So cram all you want, but make sure you get your 8-ish hours of sleep before the test because you're actually going to remember the stuff better that way. I'm so glad I'm not in school anymore. I don't have to cram. I wasn't a big crammer, which is a noun, by the way. I would study for a test, but I tried to do the work throughout the school year, the semester, the quarter, the trimester, whatever it was, and so I didn't have to really cram. But I definitely had some major study sessions before a midterm or a final. Hey, what's the etymology? It's from Middle English, kramen, from Old English, kramion, akin to the Old Norse kremja, which means to squeeze. You squeeze all that food stuff into your mouth. Kremja. Next word, skooloop. It is the second form of cram, noun from 1810. 1. A compressed multitude or crowd, and the synonym is crush. 2. Last-minute study, especially for an examination. Next, it is crambo. Yeah, crambo. So before reading the definition, I have to just suspect this must be, Rambo studying for an exam, or maybe he's stuffing food in his mouth. I think that needs to be a comic or something. Shoving food in his face while studying for a test. Crambo. First blood. Noun from 1660. A game in which one player gives a word or line of verse to be matched in rhyme by other players. Interesting. There's a lot of these word games, come up with as many songs, you come up with a word, and then how many songs have that word? Or you're writing a story in a circle. So one person says a word, the next person says a word. I don't really like those games because honestly, I'm not as much as you'd think. I'm not good with words. I like learning about this stuff, but I can't come up with them in the moment. Not usually. Maybe I have my moments. But this one sounds kind of interesting. So somebody says a word or a line, and then the next person has to come up with another line that rhymes with the first one, or something like that. That might be kind of fun. I do like coming up with rhymes. They're usually not very good. I just started playing Wordle. I'm late to the game. I really, really didn't want to play. I avoided it because I didn't want to get sucked in, and I didn't want to be part of the masses because everybody's playing. But I started, and while overall it's really hard for me, it's like, well, I can't come up with a word. It's a good exercise for the brain. It's a very good exercise for the brain, especially my brain. So yes, I'll probably keep on playing for a little while. The etymology for crambo. Why is it called crambo? It's an alternative of the earlier word crambe. I don't know how to say it. Crambe. Is that the Latin word for cabbage? Cabbage? It's also from the Greek crambe. I'm very confused by this. Why did they call this game cabbage? Is it because it's hard to rhyme something with cabbage? What rhymes with cabbage? Exactly. No, I'm sure many of you are yelling out something. Flabbage. I got lots of flabbage on my belly. Okay, we have one more word for this episode. It is the word cramp. C-R-A-M-P. First form, noun from the 14th century. 1. A painful, involuntary, spasmodic contraction of a muscle. These suck. My wife sometimes gets cramps in the bottom of her foot. The bottom of her foot. It's very bad. I don't know if I've gotten them on the bottom of my foot, maybe a couple of times. But yeah, sometimes you just get a cramp, and it's just terrible. Number 2, a temporary paralysis of muscles from overuse. Compare to writer's cramp. So if you're writing longhand with your left or right hand, if you write a lot, your fingers and your hand and your wrist and maybe your arms, they're going to get sore. So you got to take breaks and stretch. 3A, sharp abdominal pain. And this is usually used in plural. So you'd say cramps. And then 3B, persistent and often intense, though dull lower abdominal pain associated with dysmenorrhea. And again, usually used in plural. Now, I'm not entirely sure about that second one, but I know the first one, 3A, when a woman has her, the monthly period, the menses, whatever you want to call it, they often get cramps. And I am not jealous about that. It sounds like it's very painful. Obviously, there are so many other symptoms that go along with that, but that's one of them. Crampy, that is an adjective. I'm feeling so crampy. The etymology, let's see, it's of Germanic origin, akin to the Middle Dutch kramp with an E at the end, akin to the Old High German krampf, 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 and that means bent. So, you feel maybe you're bent over in pain when you have cramps, possibly. Something like that. Okay, so the words in this episode were craftsman, craftspeople, craftsperson, craftswoman, craft union, crafty, crag, craggy, cragsman, crake, cram, crambo, and cramp. I have a hard time figuring out which one I want to pick. I like maybe not that one. Crags are cool. Craggy, cragsman, crake. Let's pick crambo as the word of the episode. I like to play the game Crambo. I shall invite my friend over, Rambo. Okay, that's it. I talked a lot. We need to end this episode. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this has been Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, everybody. Word nerds. How are you? Okay, the first word in this episode is the second form of cramp, noun from the 15th century. I think that would be a good nickname for a grandma or a grandpa. Just cramp, not gramp or gramps, just cramp. Number 1A, a usually iron device bent at the ends and used to hold timbers of blocks of stone or blocks of stone together. And of course, if we look at the etymology from yesterday, the last word, it was from Old High German krampf, which means bent. So an iron device bent at the ends used to hold timbers or blocks of stone together. Maybe we'll find a picture of one of these cramps, but it's bent. So that's why it's called that. Cramp, bent. 1B, the synonym is just clamp. Clamp and cramp are the same thing. 2A, something that confines. And the synonym is shackle. I have not heard of cramp used in that way, but clearly you can. 2B, the state of being confined. I feel so cramped. If I'm in a space, if I'm cramped up and I can't move my arms, that's a problem. I don't like that. That's not a good feeling to me. If you're on the train going at rush hour in a big city, you are all very cramped on the car, and that's not fun. I don't like that either, especially now. Okay, the sound effect is slurp. So the next word is the third form of cramp, verb from the 15th century, starting with transitive. 1, to affect with or as if with a cramp or cramps. 2A, the synonyms are confine and restrain, as in, was cramped in the tiny apartment. They probably can't afford a bigger apartment. Number 2B, to restrain from free expression. And this is used especially in the phrase cramp one's style. You should never, to restrain from free yes, you should never be restrained or restrain someone else from their expression. Don't be cramping one's style. That's their style. They need to let that style free. Number 3, to fasten or hold with a cramp. Now, that's probably the iron device. And then intransitive is just to be affected with cramps. I'm cramped. Slurp. Fourth form of cramp, adjective from 1674. 1. Hard to understand or figure out, as in cramp law terms. That is cramped to me. It's hard to understand or figure out. Oh, also as in cramped handwriting. Now, if I saw the phrase cramp handwriting, I would think the text is cramped together. But no, it's just handwriting that's maybe too messy to read. Number 2, being cramped, as in a cramp corner. I think these days we would just say a cramped corner. Slurpy derp. Next word is crampon. Crampon. Noun, cramp on, cramp off. Cramp on, cramp off, the cramper. Okay, noun from the 15th century. 1. A hooked clutch or dog for raising heavy objects. A dog? This is usually used in plural, crampons. And then number 2, a climbing iron used especially on ice and snow in mountaineering. And again, usually used in plural, crampons. There is a picture of this number 2 definition. So it says it's a climbing iron. I would think by hearing that it's something that you hold in your hand, but no, this is the stuff that you attach to your boot. So there's a boot, a climbing boot, a mountain boot, and it has all these straps around it because the straps are holding on a thing that you put at the bottom of the shoe underneath the sole, and it has all these spiky things poking out because if you have to mountain climb, ice climb, you need the sharp thing so you stick in one place. It's very, very helpful, but you don't want to go walking around on the regular sidewalk with these crampons. You're probably going to break them or wear them down. So you should only use it for mountaineering on rock or ice or snow. I'm sorry, I'm yawning. I hope you're yawning too now. Okay, any etymology? Nah. But it does look like some of these metal spikes are bent a little bit, so that might be why they're called crampons. Okay, slurp. Next is cranberry. Noun from 1647. 1. The red acid berry produced by some plants of the heath family, and then also a plant producing these is also called cranberry. The plant is the cranberry plant, and it produces cranberries. Let's see, the species names for these plants are, Vaccinium oxycoccus, maybe, and also Vaccinium macrocarpon. Number 2, any of various plants with a fruit that resembles a cranberry. And then also number 3 is just a dark red. It says it is a part translation of the Lower German Kranberry, Kraanbere. That is from Kran, which means crane, Crane, and then also berry, which means berry. Crane berry. But why did they pick the word crane to describe this berry? Maybe we will learn about that when we get to crane in a couple of words. Okay, that's cranberry. It's I've heard that it's very good for your system. It's good to drink. Was it your urinary tract system possibly? I don't know. I don't know the details. That's just what I've heard. Okay, next. Slurp. It is cranberry bush. 2 words, noun from 1778. It is just the synonym high bush cranberry. High bush is 1 word, and then cranberry. Must be a specific kind of cranberry plant. Next word, slurpy slurp. It is the first form of crane, Crane, noun from before the 12th century. 1. Any of a family of tall, wading birds superficially resembling the herons, but structurally more nearly related to the rails. Cranes. I think I actually saw a crane walking down the street in my residential neighborhood, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something. I was not aware that we had any animals like that. I swear it was probably 5 or 6 feet tall. Does that sound right? Maybe I need to find a picture of a crane and confirm my suspicions. It was very odd. Okay, so they resemble the herons. Is that how you say that? Herons? Heron. That is a kind of bird, but they're more related to the rails, and I really still don't know what a rail bird is. Let's see. The family name of these cranes is Gruidae. Gruidae? They are of the order Gruiformes or Gruiformes. That is it for the birds. Maybe. Number 2 for crane. Any of several herons. Oh, that's the end of that. Okay. Any of several herons. For some reason, that does not sound like that's the way that you need to say that word. Heron? How else would you say it? It's not heron. It's not... I think it's heron. Just sounds weird to me. Okay, 3. An often horizontal projection swinging about a vertical axis. As 3A. A machine for raising, shifting, and lowering heavy weights by means of a projecting swinging arm or with the hoisting apparatus supported on an overhead track. This is all about physics. And as the years have gone on, we've been able to make bigger cranes, more sophisticated cranes. There's a vertical thing that goes up, and then there's a horizontal piece that goes out from there, and it needs to be counterbalanced. So, you'll see very large weights on the back end of a crane so it doesn't topple over when you've got, a big thing sticking out real far over in one direction, and then it's, having to pick up heavy things as well. You got to make sure that it's weighted correctly. Okay, where were we? 3B. An iron arm in a fireplace for supporting kettles. I don't think a lot of people have these in their fireplaces anymore. 3C. A boom for holding a motion picture or television camera. A boom, it's just a big pole, basically, that goes out. You could put a microphone, but usually, it's for a camera on a big crane. You could do real fancy shots. You can have them go up high, 50 feet, 100 feet, whatever it is, so you get really cool shots. These days, depending on the situation, they probably use drones for those shots a lot of the times. Okay, the etymology is, let's see, Middle English, Old English, akin to the Old High German chrono, which means crane, from the Greek geramos, no, nos, it's an N, geranos, also from Latin grus, but it doesn't say what geranos or grus mean, so I don't know. I don't know what it is. I also still don't know anything about why cranberry is cranberry, because it was basically craneberry, but maybe this next one will help us. Slurp. Slurp? Second form of crane. This is a verb from 1570, starting with transitive. 1. To raise or lift by, or as if by, a crane. The crane is craning. Something else that is craning sometimes. Number 2. To stretch, as the neck, toward an object of attention. It can be, you're like stretching your head and your neck out to go see something, but you can't really move your body. As in, craning her neck to get a better view. Those were transitive. Now we have intransitive. 1. To stretch one's neck toward an object of attention. Almost exactly the same. As in, I craned out of the window of my compartment. What? I craned out of the window of my compartment. So is it just stretching the neck out of the window? That is a quote from Webb Waldron. That's their name, Webb Waldron. Number 2, the synonym is hesitate. If you crane, you hesitate. Okay? Okay, so why are cranberries called cranberries? Are they hesitating? Are they sticking their neck out? How do they grow? I don't know. Maybe the bird? Maybe the bird crane eats the cranberries? Maybe they live in the same area? Is that possible? If you know, let me know. Next is crane, fly, 2 words, noun from 1658, any of a family of long-legged, slender dipteran flies that resemble large mosquitoes, but do not bite. And the family name is Tipulidae. Long-legged, slender dipteran. Are they crane flies because they kind of look like the crane bird, which I think has large, long legs? Why? Moving on to slurp. Crane's bill. 1 word. Crane's bill. Noun from 1548. And we have the number 1 definition for the word geranium, which is a plant, right? A flower? Something? You could also call it crane's bill. Maybe it looks like the bill of a bird crane. Next. Slurp. It is cranny or cranio. This is a prefix. It just means cranium, which is, it's your head. It's your forehead, your skull, that whole area, the cranium. As in the example, craniate. Also, it could mean cranial and. So either cranium or cranial and. As in the example, craniosacral. And we are going to learn about craniosacral and other words like this in tomorrow's episode. Next, slurp. It is cranial with an L at the end. Adjective from 1800, 1 of or relating to the skull or cranium. And number 2, the synonym is cephalic. Cranially is an adverb. If you slam your head into the wall, you are hitting the wall cranially. But don't do that. All right, we have one more for this episode. Slurpy derpy derp, slurp, slurp. It is cranial index. 2 words, noun from 1868. The ratio multiplied by 100 of the maximum breadth of the bare skull to its maximum length from front to back. So it is basically the size of your skull. The width, the length, and they do some math, and then you get the cranial index. I should figure out what my cranial index is. I think it's rather large, and most of that, it's not because I have a big brain. It's because the skull is very thick. Okay, so the words were cramp, crampon, cranberry, cranberry bush, crane, crane fly, crane's bill, crany, cranial, and cranial index. Well, let's see. Nothing is really jumping out at me. I mean, we could go that route. We're going to get some more cranio words tomorrow, so maybe I will want to pick one of those. This is dumb. I guess maybe I'll just pick cranberry as the word of the episode. I've got some cranberry juice in the fridge right now. The bottle's almost out. Cranberries are good for your system. That's all I gotta say about that. Okay. There are no holidays. We finished that a while ago, so I'm sorry if you're here to listen to the holidays, but no, we're here to talk about the words. And that's what this is all about. Yeah, okay, we're gonna end it. We gotta end it. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. This is my podcast. I am Spencer. This is where I'm literally reading the book that's dictionary, all the words, all the definitions, much of the etymology, the synonym information, the usage information, all of that fun stuff. And then as I go, I just tell you my thoughts about them. They could be anything. They could be weird thoughts, questions, comments, whatever. I hope it's enjoyable to you. I think once I'm done and when I get older and I forget everything, I'm just going to have to listen to this whole podcast so I will remind myself what I actually think about things. I don't know. If you could please go rate and review this on your podcast platform of choice, that would be really wonderful. There's not a lot of that happening. So yeah, just go rate it and write a little thing, and it helps more people find this silly show. If you want to contact me, you can do that by emailing me, dictionarypod@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at dictionarypod. It's very easy. I hope you know how to spell dictionary. Maybe you should go to the dictionary and find out how to spell dictionary. There is a Google Voice number in the show notes. You can call it and you can leave me a voicemail. It's like 917-727 something 7777. Anything else? There is a Patreon. If you want to throw a few bucks my way, you will get episodes early, and that is that. Guests will happen eventually. I just am not putting a lot of effort into that because my life is busy. But I know I need to do that. I think you like it when guests are on, but nobody's ever said one way or the other. I don't know what people think. I just think it's kind of fun. Okay, this is the last section of page 291. The first word is cranial nerve. C-R-A-N-I-A-L. Second word, N-E-R-V-E. Noun from 1840. Any of the nerves that arise in pairs from the lower surface of the brain, one on each side, and pass through openings in the skull to the periphery of the body, and that comprise 12 pairs in reptiles, birds, and mammals, and usually 10 in fishes and amphibians. Okay, so it's basically the nerves that are coming out of your cranium to go to the rest of the body. So there's one from the left side, one from the right side. Yeah, that's basically it. I think that's good. That's it. That's good. That's great. Okay, great. Oh my God, I didn't think of a sound effect. What am I gonna do? I don't know. My brain is like, what? What? That'll be a good sound effect. Let's do that. Okay. Next is craniate or craniate. Adjective from 1879. Having a cranium. If you have a cranium, you are craniate. Craniate or craniate, one of those is also a noun. I am very craniated. Next, what? Next is craniocerebral. Craniocerebral, one word, adjective from 1876. I think this would be a good one to figure out backwards someday. Involving both cranium and brain, as in craniocerebral injury. Should I just quickly see if I can figure out backwards? Ooh, there's a lot of syllables. Larb, ear, is, woen, arc. Right. And a wo, say, hurry, brawl. Maybe? What? Next is craniofacial, adjective from circa 1859, of, relating to, or involving both the cranium and the face, as in a craniofacial deformity. Yeah, genes, they get mutated and weird, and that just happens sometimes. So, hopefully, if it is something that you want to get changed, hopefully surgery can do that. People have gotten a lot better with surgery in the long run. And over the years, the decades, the centuries, we're much better at fixing things than we used to be. Yeah, I don't know. I find things like this fascinating. I don't find people ugly. I would not use that word. I just find them, different and unique and interesting and fascinating. And the thing is that any sort of deformity like that is going to have an effect on that person very clearly, not just physically, but on their brain, the way that people treat them, the way that they maybe treat themselves, or how they present themselves to the rest of the world, and how they deal with it. It's very easy, depending on what this deformity is. It's very easy to become a hermit, to close yourself off from the world because you feel unattractive or people are going to laugh at you. And obviously, that there are people like that. There are people out there in the world who are going to treat somebody like that, and that is terrible. So that has a huge effect on somebody. And I've been thinking a lot about recently how our experience of the world, or how something about us is translated into the brain. How does our brain change based on things about us, or the things that are in our environment, or the people in our environment? I just think it's so fascinating. So, I'm sure that there's something, somehow the brain has changed, but they just have a different outlook on life than people who don't have a craniofacial deformity. Okay, I talked a lot about that. I'm sorry. Next is what? Craniology. This obviously needs to be an episode on the podcast, Ologies. Noun from 1851. A science dealing with variations in size, shape, and proportions of skulls among human races. Okay, this actually is a problematic study because I think this goes back to the idea that you could, how do we describe this? People thought that different races around the world had different head shapes, and that meant that they were either better or worse than other races. Like I don't know what the details are, but that is essentially what they thought. And that's not right. That's not good. There are lots of different head cranium shapes and sizes, and they don't mean anything, I don't think. Technically maybe your skull is bigger, your brain is bigger, whatever it is, I don't really think it says anything about who you are as a person or how smart you are or how nice or mean you are. I don't think there's any correlation to that. Craniology, old school study that I don't think is studied anymore, I hope. Unless I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things. Next, what? Craniometry. Noun from circa 1828, a science dealing with cranial measurement. And then compare to cephalometry. Is that how you say it? Cephalometry. I don't remember. That's also measuring something, but I don't remember what we're measuring. I should know. I need to know this. Let's go back. Let's just do it for the people who, like me, can't remember anything. Okay, stand by. Hey, I found it. It is the science of measuring the head in living individuals. Okay, so that is very similar, actually. So cephalometry is studying the head of living individuals, and craniometry is the science dealing with cranial measurement. So cephalometry measures, and then craniometry is like they take those measurements and they study them? Is that what this is? It's a little bit weird. Maybe they're the same thing. It doesn't say the synonym is cephalometry. It just says compare to cephalometry. But this is much more scientific, it seems. It's literally just measuring the skulls, the brains, the cranium, and then what? What do you do with that? What's the science behind that? What are the questions you can ask? If all the people have this kind of head measurement, are they all like this? I mean, you can try, but I don't know if it's going to really mean anything. What? Next is craniosacral. craniosacral. Adjective from circa 1923, and the synonym is parasympathetic. Parasympathetic. I think I've heard that there is a parasympathetic nerve. Sacral, is that the back? The back or the part of the back? These are things that I should know. I know that there's different things. Anyway, I think it's something about the head and the back, or the head and the spine, or something like that. What? Next is craniosacral therapy. Maybe we will learn more. Noun from 1986, a system of gentle touch designed to enhance the functioning of the membranes, tissues, fluids, and bones surrounding or associated with the brain and spinal cord. Yes, craniosacral, brain, and spinal cord. Gentle touch, enhancing all those things. That sounds great. What is that? Next is craniosynostosis. Is that how you say it? Synostosis. Yes, this is all one word. Craniosynostosis. Lots of S sounds. Maybe this would be another good one to figure out backwards. Noun from 1951, premature fusion of the sutures of the skull. So, when does this fusion happen? I believe normally the sutures of the skull fuse when you're a toddler, baby toddler times, but possibly they can fuse earlier than normal. But what happens with that? Is there a problem? Is it just okay, that's just the thing that happened? Or, yeah, does it become a problem? I'm not sure entirely. Craniosynostosis. What? Next is craniotomy. Craniotomy. Noun from 1855. surgical opening of the skull. Sometimes the doctor's got to go check in there and see what's going on. Maybe there's some tests. Maybe they got to remove a tumor or something. They are performing a craniotomy. Huh. Sounds crazy. The thing is, I've heard that there are no nerves in the brain, and so you don't actually feel anything. You'll have to be put under or anesthetized for when they actually open up the skull, but when they're actually touching the skull, you can't feel anything. So they will do experiments or tests. They will have people speak or sing or play a musical instrument while their head is open, and they're putting electrodes in the brain or touching the brain in some way. And the person's just like, yeah, cool. My brain's open to the world. Okay, next. What? Cranium is next. Noun from the 15th century. The synonym is just the word skull, but specifically the part that encloses the brain. And then another synonym, I love this word, it is brain case. So the skull, obviously, in addition to the top part, it also consists of the face part and the jaw and all those other parts. But no, specifically the cranium is really just the top part that holds the brain. That's why we call it a brain case. This is from Greek cranion. I don't know how to say that word. Cranion, akin to the Greek word kara, K-A-R-A, which means head. And there is more at the word cerebral. What? Next word is the first form of the word crank, C-R-A-N-K. There are 3 forms in this episode. There was a game, an app game many years ago called, well, here's the thing. It was spelled Q-R-A-N-K, and I had a bit of a debate with one of my friends on how to pronounce it. Is it Q-rank or is it crank? I don't know if there was ever an official answer, but I'm pretty sure it's crank. It was pronounced crank. But then they stopped making the game, and it was a fun trivia game. I liked it. Okay, first form of crank, noun from the 13th century. 1, a bent part of an axle or shaft, or an arm keyed at right angles to the end of a shaft by which circular motion is imparted to or received from the shaft, or by which reciprocating motion is changed into circular motion, or vice versa. That was a lot. I've heard of the crankshaft in a car, but I never studied cars. It's probably a very good skill to learn, but it's bent, and so it does things. 2A is archaic, and the synonym is bend. 2B, a twist or turn of speech, and the synonym is conceit. And this is used especially in the phrase quips and cranks. What is a twist or a turn in speech? 2C1, the synonyms are caprice and crochet. Crochet? Crank? Cranking out that crochet. 2C2, an annoyingly eccentric person. Also, one who is overly enthusiastic about a particular subject or activity. I have not heard... Wait, are all of these archaic? No, I think just 2A is archaic. I have not heard of a person like this being described as a crank, but that type of person definitely exists. There are people who are very enthusiastic about one thing, and they will talk your ear off about it, and that's fine. I like that they're so enthusiastic about a thing. But yes, I guess people call them cranks. 2D, a bad-tempered person. The synonym is grouch. That is the one that I hear mostly when you're describing a person. They're such a crank. Number 3, this synonym is the word crystal. Crankish is an adjective. The etymology says, Middle English, crank with an E. Old English, cranc. That is a prefix, it looks like, because there's a dash at the end. And then for that one, as in crankstaff, which is a weaving instrument. I don't know how it's pronounced, but that's sort of how it's spelled, crankstaff. I think I have a sneeze coming. And then so the Old English crank is probably akin to the Middle High German crank with K's, which means weak or sick. And there's more at the word cringe. Man, but there were so many different definitions. The thing in the car, and bending, and phrasing, and a person of different kinds, and crystal, and there's a lot going on there. What? That's the word what. Second form of crank, verb from 1592, starting with intransitive. 1. To move with a winding course, and the synonym is zigzag. 2a, to turn a crank. 2b, to get started by, or as if by, the turning of a crank. Let's see, what is that kid's game, the kid's toy, the thing that pops out of the box? You got to turn a crank to make that thing happen. Also, old movie cameras, they had a crank. It had to be hand cranked. Later they became motorized. But I think for the old film, like silent film, you had to crank it 3 times a second. So, da, 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 da. And, it would be maybe, 3 minutes on a reel? If it was a big one, maybe it was 10 minutes or something. That's a lot, probably. But, the camera person would have to hand crank as close as they can to 3 times a second, and your arm gets tired, and you might slow down a little or speed up a little bit. And so the films back in the day, the frame rate might shift as the film goes on. It's not a perfect 24 frames per second or whatever it is. I think back then they were doing like maybe 16 frames a second, give or take, obviously, based on the hand cranking. I just think that's so fascinating. What? No, we're not. It's not sound effect time. We have to go to number 2C, to gain speed, momentum, or intensity. And this is usually used with the word up, as in, the campaign is cranking up. It's getting ready to go do a thing. Okay, now we have transitive. 1, to move or operate by, or as if by, a crank. As in, crank the window down. Yeah, some windows have cranks to open and close. 2a, to cause to start. And what might be starting? It is an automobile. Yeah, old automobiles, they had a crank. You'd have to crank the engine to get it to start. I'm so glad we don't live in those times. 2b, to rotate the shaft. To rotate the shaft as a crankshaft, of especially with a starter. It's a little bit of a weird sentence, but yes, that's what that is. As in, crank over an engine. 2b, to rotate the shaft of, especially with a starter. And the example of the shaft that is rotating is the crankshaft in a car. As in, crank over an engine. So I think technically that still works for cars these days, but maybe more specifically the old cars where you literally had to crank it to get the engine to go. 2c, to use in trying to start an engine. As in, crank the starter. 3a, to start as if by use of a crank. And this is usually used with the word up, as in she cranked up the air conditioner. Weird pause there, buddy. She cranked up the air conditioner. Yeah, if it's not cold enough, you got to crank it up. Now here's a question for you. If somebody says to you, turn up the air, what does that mean? There are other similar phrases. Does that mean make it colder? Or turn up the temperature so it's warmer, so it's less cold? You got to be specific when you're saying something like that. Okay, 3B. It is the number 2 definition for the word turn up. And this is usually used with the word up, as in crank up the volume. Crank it up so I can hear it better. And our very last word, what? The third form of crank, adjective from 1924, of relating to or being a cranky or eccentric person. Also, made or sent by such a person. As in, oh, is this why they call it that? As in, crank calls. Also as in, a crank letter. I've heard of crank calls, but I've also heard of prank calls with a P, and that one always made much more sense to me. But now, I guess I have a little bit more context, but it's still weird. A cranky or eccentric person is making a crank call. I think crank calls are meant to be pranks, right? That just makes so much more sense to me. Whatever, you can call it whatever you want. You could call it a stank call. All right, so the words in this episode were cranial nerve, craniate, craniocerebral, craniofacial, craniology, craniometry, craniosacral, craniosacral therapy, craniosynostosis, craniotomy, cranium, crank. Let's see. Well, what do we got going on tomorrow's episode? We have more of that. Okay, so maybe we will pick just cranium as the word of the episode. I got a big cranium sitting on top of my head, but cranium is the head. My cranium sits on my neck. All right, whatever. Okay, that is it for this. And this is that this is that for that. All right. What is happening? I don't know. I hope you are enjoying this nonsense, as I often say, and you can go tell your friends, go share this, go subscribe to it so you can get the automatic downloads. Go tell the people about it. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. Hello, how are you? What is up? Boo-de-doo-ba-boo. Okay, this is the first section of page 292. And yeah, there's some fun words in this episode. Let's be adults and have fun. Okay, so the first word in this episode is crank. C-R-A-N-K, fourth form, adjective from the 15th century. One is chiefly dialect, and the synonyms are merry, M-E-R-R-Y, and high-spirited. Where do people use this? I definitely have never heard of crank used for merry or high-spirited. Crank, interesting. Hey, number 2, also chiefly dialect, and the synonyms are cocky and confident. Different than merry and high-spirited, but sort of maybe in the same world, I guess one could argue. But yeah, maybe that's a whole different part of the world, part of the country, where people use crank for cocky or confident. Okay, what am I gonna do with the sound effect? Should I just do a good old... Maybe we'll do that. Okay, I was going to say second form. No, fifth form. Number 5, fifth form of crank, adjective from circa 1649. This is talking about a boat. And it says easily tipped. And the synonym is the 7D definition for the word tender. This is from, well, it is short for crank-sided, which means easily tipped. So, it's some sort of boat sailing term, crank-sided. That means a boat is easily tippable, and then they just shortened it to just crank. Crank-sided. So the sides are cranky, the sides of the boat are wobbly, they're short. I don't know, something. Is there anything from yesterday's episode? Oh, there's too much to read. So yeah, crank. And then tender, the 7D definition for tender. I am fascinated by what that is. Easily tipped, probably. Next word is crankcase. One word. Noun from circa 1878. The housing of a crankshaft. And we will learn about the crankshaft shortly. Next word, crank out. 2 words. Transitive verb from 1956. To produce, especially in a mechanical manner. And we have an example. Crank out a manuscript. So you just wrote up that manuscript really fast. See, when I think of crank out like a manuscript or cranking out some work, I don't usually think of it as in a mechanical manner, but it does make sense. I usually think of it as very quickly. You're just cranking them out. You're making manuscripts left and right. That's just where my brain goes. Next word is crank pin. One word, noun from 1839. The cylindrical piece which forms the handle of a crank or to which a connecting rod is attached. You got to have the crank pin in there. I don't know. Here's crankshaft. One word, noun from 1854. 1. A shaft driven by or driving a crank. See, if I had a visualization, if I knew about cars, I could help to understand this. A shaft driven by or driving a crank. So it could be either one. So the crank is turning and then it moves some sort of shaft in an engine back and forth, or vice versa. Maybe the shaft is being moved by something else and then that moves a crank. But either way, it's the shaft that's connected to a crank. And then number 2, a shaft consisting of a series of cranks and crank pins to which the connecting rods of an engine are attached. Maybe we should find a picture of the whole engine thing that specifically points out cranks and crank pins and crank shafts. Next is cranky. First form, adjective from 1821. This is just the word crank with a Y. 1A, given to fretful fussiness. Also, readily angered when opposed. And the synonym is crotchety. As in, our long wait left us a tad cranky. And that's from, it's a quote from, it just says, Connecticut. The whole state of Connecticut said, our long wait left us a tad cranky. I love this definition, given to fretful fussiness. How long did they spend trying to write that, trying to find the perfect words for that? And then also, readily angered when opposed. I think we can all get cranky at times, especially maybe some of you younger listeners, if there are any younger listeners out there. Yeah. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe sometimes it feels good to be cranky. Sometimes you're hungry. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes you just got in a bad mood. Something happened. And you're just like, I'm cranky. I am so given to fretful fussiness right now. Please, leave me alone right now. That's probably a good way to handle it. If you're feeling cranky, just be like, yo, dude, I need a time out. Maybe don't take your anger out on people. Don't yell at people. Just recognize your crankiness and just to give yourself a timeout. Okay, 1B, marked by eccentricity, as in his bizarre and cranky mix of ideas and beliefs. And that is a quote from R.J. Evans. This one's new to me. I haven't heard it used in this way. His bizarre and cranky mix of ideas. I do like it, though. Marked by eccentricity. We need more of this. Number 2, full of twists and turns. And the synonym is tortuous, as in a cranky road. My brain, when I hear cranky, it just goes right to the first definition. Readily angered when opposed. So if I hear a road being cranky, that's what I think of. And I have a sneeze. Yes, there it goes. Okay, the cranky road. Ooh, that would be a good kids book maybe. The Cranky Road. Is it tortuous? Has it twists and turns? Is it given to fretful fussiness? Maybe it's a sequel to the the Wonky Donkey? That's a fun book. Oh, that reminds me of something. Okay, number 3, working erratically. And the synonym is unpredictable, as in a cranky old tractor. Yeah, that tractor is definitely angered when opposed. Number 4, this is dialect. The synonyms are crazy and imbecile. Crankily is an adverb, and crankiness is a noun. I almost forgot my sound effect. It is... Next is the second form of cranky, adjective from 1841. This is talking about a boat, and the synonym is just the 5th form of the word crank, which we learned is just easily tipped. That boat is cranky. That's a cranky boat because it is easily tippable. Canoes, I think, are easily tippable. I have tipped in a canoe. I think we were probably just trying to get on it. They're so wibbly wobbly. Why? You get used to it, I guess, but I get overly nervous when getting in or out of a canoe. Okay, next word. It is crannog. I think that's how you say it. Crannog. Cranog, noun from 1608. This is an artificial fortified island constructed in a lake or marsh, originally in prehistoric Ireland and Scotland. How is it artificial? An artificial fortified island constructed in a lake or marsh. So it's an island in a lake? Is that right? This sounds pretty cool. Yeah, it's just from the Scottish, Gaelic, or Irish words, which are very similar. I'll just say crannog. Next. It is cranny. Cranny, noun from the 15th century. 1, a small break or slit, and the synonym is crevice. 2, an obscure nook or corner. And crannied, with an IED, that is an adjective. You gotta get the butter on all the nooks and crannies in your English muffin. This is just from Middle French, cren or cran, which means notch. A cranny is a notch. Are you old enough to know about those English muffin commercials where they talked about the nooks and the crannies? I don't know. Next, it is cranrook. I think that's how you say it. Cranrook. Cranreuch. Noun from 1682. It is Scottish, and the synonyms are hoarfrost and rime. Hoarfrost is spelled Hoarfrost, and rime is Rime. And then this is probably modified of the Scottish Gaelic Cranrothia. I don't know anything. I don't know what this is. I don't know rhyme, I don't know hoarfrost, and I don't know cranrook. I am excited to learn. Next, it is the first form of the word crap. C-R-A-P, first form, intransitive verb from 1846, usually vulgar, and the synonym is defecate. It's the poop coming out of your butt. Can we just say it? That's what it is. Defecate crap. And that is why I am doing the sound effect of... Okay, second form of crap. Noun from circa 1897. 1A. Usually vulgar. The synonym is feces. So crap can be a verb, the act of the feces coming out, and it is also the noun. The feces that is coming out is also crap. Crap that crap. 1B, again, usually vulgar. It is the act of defecating. Number 2, sometimes vulgar. The synonyms are nonsense and rubbish. And then also the 4B definition for the word stuff. Oh, that over there, we don't care for it. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense and rubbish. It's crap. This is a British dialect. Well, it's from the British dialect word crap or craps, so it's the same thing. And that is just residue from rendered fat. Also from Middle English, crap, spelled a little bit differently. Perhaps from the Old French crap, again spelled different but similar, and that means chaff or residue. Yeah, I guess that's the residue from the food that you ate. Third form of crap, noun from 1885. I apologize. I am emphasizing the word crap so much. I don't know why. It's just a fun word to say. Okay, number 1. It is just used as an attributive form of craps, as in the game Crap Game. There's the game craps where you throw the dice down the table, and I don't know how it works, and people are always trying to get 7s or double 6s or something, and you gotta blow on the dice for good luck. I don't know how it works. But yeah, you could say craps or crap game. Also as in crap table. That is the table where you play the game craps. I hope we learn about, are we going to learn about that game? Maybe not. We should at some point. Oh, here, look at this. Number 2, a throw of 2, 3, or 12 in the game of craps, losing the shooter his bet unless he has a point. Okay, so I'm learning that if you're playing craps and you throw a 2, which would be 2 1s, a 3, or a 12, that is a crap. So then you lose your bet, unless you have a point, which I don't know what that means, but basically crap is bad in the game of craps. Clever title. Then it's also just called craps. Compared to the word natural. Why are we comparing it to the word natural? Is that also a term in the game of craps? Maybe if you throw something that's not a 2 or a 3 or a 12, it would be a natural. I should learn up on this game. Maybe I'll put a link in the show notes about how to play craps. Seems like there's no skill to this game. I don't know. Next word. Fourth form of the word crap, intransitive verb from circa 1930. Number 1, to throw a crap. And again, I'm sure that's the game, the dice game. 2, to throw a 7 while trying to make a point. And this is usually used with the word out. So if you throw a 7 while you're trying to make a point, whatever that means, you crap out. But 7 wasn't one of the numbers. This is so confusing. Okay, next word. It is the word crepe. C-R-A-P-E, When I think of the word crepe, I think of crepe, which is a thin pancake-like thing. But anyway, this is crepe spelled differently. First form, noun from 1633. Number 1, oh, look at that. The synonym is crepe, crepe. There are sweet crepes and savory crepes, and we will learn more about them in detail episodes from now, in the future, someday. Number 2, a band of crepe worn on a hat or sleeve as a sign of mourning. Okay, well, this took a turn. So this crepe is not at all the crepe that I thought we were talking about. I guess we'll learn that. Maybe if let's see. Let's go to crepe. Crepe. Okay, this will be on about 11 episodes from now, possibly the one that is airing on April 21st. Go ahead, if you're listening to this way in the future, go ahead and listen to that so you can learn about crepe. Well, I wonder what I said. We'll find out together. Okay, so it's some sort of a thing that you can wear on a hat or a sleeve when you are mourning. This is from Middle French, crespe, which means curly, from Latin crispus, and there's more at the word crisp. Well, the pancakey crepe, you won't wear it on your sleeve, but the edges do get kind of crispy, so there's some connection there. Now I just want a hat made out of crepes. Okay, next word. Second form of crepe. This is a transitive verb from 1815, to cover or shroud with or as if with crepe. Oh, is this like crepe paper? Is that a thing? I don't know. I haven't dealt with that probably since I was a kid. And how do you spell crepe in that context? Next word. Third form of crepe. This is a transitive verb from 1774. To make curly. And the thing that you are probably making curly would be hair. And yeah, if we look at the etymology for the first form of crepe, it means curly. And crispy, curly hair. Okay, next word. Crepe myrtle. So we still have the same first word, and then the second word is myrtle. Crepe myrtle the turtle. Noun from 1850, an Asian shrub of the loosestrife family, widely grown in warm regions for its flowers. And the species name is Lagerstromia indica. Lagerstromia indica. Okay, here we go with another fun word. It is crapola. Noun from 1941. It is slang, and the synonyms are nonsense and rubbish. And of course, we saw those same synonyms just for the second form of the word crap. So we turned it into crapola. And again, we also have the 4B definition for the word stuff. This is from the second form of the word crap, plus the suffix ola, O-L-A. I love that. I'm guessing that suffix has its own entry in this book, so that'll be fun to get to. So that is a suffix that's forming jocular variants of words. So if you want to make a jocular variant of any word, you can just add ola to the end. Crapola. Let's go to a random page earlier in the book, and let's add ola to it. Blurbola. A blurb, it's a short publicity notice, and it's a blurbola. Oh, that notice is so much more fun now that we added ola. Alrighty. Next word is crapper. Noun from circa 1932. It is usually vulgar, and the synonym is the word toilet. So I remember this was one of the holidays things. I think it was maybe John Crapper's birthday or John Crapper Day or something. And I'm trying to remember the details, but basically I think it was that he made a toilet, so his name was on toilets, and the military guys, the guys in the war, was this World War I or World War II? I don't remember. They already had the word crap for poop, and then they saw his name on there, and so they started calling it the Crapper, which just made total sense. And I just love that story. I think that's so good. Okay, we have one more word for this episode. It is the word crappy. C-R-A-P-P-I-E. Noun from circa 1827. 1, the synonym is black crappy. And 2, the synonym is white crappy. And I think this is a fish. I think so. It is from the Canadian French word, how would you say this? It's French, so I don't know. Crapette or crappe? One of those. Somehow it became crappy. Okie dokie. So the words in this episode were crank, crankcase, crank out, crank pin, crankshaft, cranky, cranky, cranug, cranny, cranrook, crap, crepe, crepe myrtle, crapola, crapper, and crappy. I mean, it's because I'm a child at heart. I have to pick one of these crappy words. Is it crapper? Is it just crap? I think. Well, I don't know what to do. That we had crapola is a pretty good one though. I don't know. I kind of like crapola. Let's do crapola as the word of the episode. Crapola, crapola, crapola. We're gonna sing about crapola. I don't think there are any songs that sing about crapola. Okay, that's it. Fun times. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, well, I don't know. What should I talk about? Should I talk about something? I don't know. What should I talk about? I don't know. I'm tired. I worked a long day. It's been a long few weeks. It's gonna be another long week. It's fine. Whatever. Okay. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hi, word nerds. Welcome to this episode of The Dictionary, the podcast where I read the dictionary and then I say some things about it to make it maybe a little bit more interesting, educational, understandable, something. I put my personal thoughts in there. Maybe if you want to make your own podcast about the dictionary, you can do that, and it will be a whole other unique experience for the people who listen to it. Yeah. Okay, the first word in this episode is crappy. C-R-A-P-P-Y, adjective from 1846. It is slang, and it means markedly inferior in quality. And the synonym is lousy. This podcast is so crappy. Okay, the sound effect is going to be sort of something like that. Okay, the next word is craps. Are we going to get to learn about the dice game craps? Noun from 1842. 1. A gambling game played with 2 dice. Well, you're not describing how to play it, which I guess makes sense. That's not the dictionary's job to tell me how to play games. You just tell me the basics, the very high-level description. Number 2, it is just the number 2 definition for the third form of crap, which was in yesterday's episode, and that was a throw of 2 or 3 or 12 in the game of craps. Let's see. This is from French crabs or craps with a B or a P, from the English word crabs. Wait, it went from English to French, back to English? Is that right? I don't know. English word crabs, which is the lowest throw at hazard. And that means nothing to me. I don't understand it at all. Maybe, again, I'll put in a link to a website in the show notes on how to play craps if you want to learn. Let's get the kids gambling early. All right. Next word is crapshoot. One word, noun from 1971, something as a business venture that has an unpredictable outcome. You don't know how it's going to turn out. It's like, hey, maybe it'll go this way. Maybe it'll go that way. I don't know. It's worth a shot. Maybe, possibly not worth a shot, but we're going to do it anyway. It's a crapshoot. That has got to be related to the game craps, right? You're shooting, they shoot the dice, and it's a crap. You might get a crap. You're playing craps. It's a crapshoot. Next word is crap shooter. One word, noun from 1895. One who plays craps. Yeah, a crapshoot. It said something that has an unpredictable outcome. The game of craps, when you're throwing the dice, you are a crap shooter. You don't know. You might get the craps, the crap. You might get something else. You have no idea how it's gonna appear, what's gonna happen, because it's just dice. Unless they're weighted dice, what is gonna happen? It's very exciting. That's probably why people love it. Next word. This is crapulous. crapulous. Adjective from 1536. 1. Marked by intemperance, especially in eating or drinking. Intemperance. Number 2. Sick from excessive indulgence in liquor. So I think we can assume that intemperance means maybe too much. Marked by too much, that's not the right phrase here, but it'll work, especially in eating or drinking. And then sick from excessive indulgence in liquor. Too much liquor, you are going to get extremely sick and feel bad, and you might end up in the hospital or worse. So you got to be super careful with the liquor. You will be feeling very crapulous. This is from Latin crapula, which means intoxication. And then it's also from the Greek kraipele. I don't know how to say that word. Kraipale. If you are Greek or you know how to speak Greek, can you speak Greek? Let me know. Contact me. All the information is in the show notes. It should be pretty easy enough to find. Next word. It's the word crash. First form, verb from the 15th century, starting with transitive. 1a. To break violently and noisily. And the synonym is the word smash. I think it should be Hulk crash. 1b. To damage in landing. Okay, and the example of the thing that might be damaged is an airplane. Yeah, you don't want to... That's a very interesting definition. To damage in landing. So that's the verb. I assume there's going to be a similar one in the noun section, one of the nouns. But yeah, to damage an airplane in landing. When an airplane crash lands, it is crashing. It has been crashed. 2a. To cause to make a loud noise, as in crash the cymbals together, and maybe they will sound something like ksh, ksh, ksh. 2b. To force through with loud crashing noises, and you could be forcing your way. To force as one's way through with loud crashing noises. So you're just forcing your way through what? How are you doing this to make loud crashing noises? Are you knocking things off shelves that fall on the ground and break? Don't go crashing through rooms and crowds. 3. To enter or attend without invitation or without paying, as in crash the party. We just watched a movie a couple of days ago, the worst woman, the worst person in the world, and she crashes a wedding. Is it a wedding? I think it's a wedding. I can't remember. She crashes a party. Okay, number 4, to move toward aggressively, and like in fighting for a rebound. You're fighting for a rebound in basketball, and you're moving toward the ball aggressively, as in basketball players crashing the boards. They really, really want that ball. 5, to cause to crash. And the thing that might be crashing in this case is a computer system, a component, or a program. I hate it. I hate it when my programs or my computer crash. It still happens sometimes. Okay, now we have to move on to intransitive for crash. Number 1A, to break or go to pieces with or as if with violence and noise. 1B, to fall, land, or hit with destructive force. 1C, to decline suddenly and steeply. 1D is talking about a computer system, component, or program. The definition says, to suffer a sudden major failure, usually with attendant loss of data or data. All of a sudden, something just fails. Luckily, though, these days, between probably technology, but also people being smart enough to figure out how to program it in, with at least some of the programs that I work with, if it crashes, when you reopen it, it's smart enough to say, hey, I think you were working on this file. Would you like me to open it? Yes, I would. Thank you very much. I'm going to open it for you. And it's like a recovery file, and it usually does a pretty good job. It might not be every single little thing that I did to it, but it's oftentimes pretty darn close. So thank you to the computer programmers for creating that. 2, for crash, to make a smashing noise, as in thunder crashing overhead. 3, to move or force one's way with or as if with a crash, as in crashes into the room. I imagine Kramer from Seinfeld. He crashes into a room. Number 4 is slang, to experience the after effects of a usually prolonged episode of drug use. So the examples of the after effects would be lethargy or depression, so being tired or sad. And after a usually prolonged episode of drug use, the example of the drug could be amphetamines. Yeah, this is slang when after you might feel very bad afterwards. So that's the crash part, going down, down, down to a feeling bad place. Okay, number 5 is also slang, to go to bed or fall asleep. Also, to reside temporarily, and the synonym is stay, as in crashing with friends for a few days. That's very kind of your friends to let you stay there. I'm feeling like I'm ready to crash and just go to bed right now. Let's do it. I'm just going to let this record while I'm sleeping. No, I would never do that. Crasher, that is a noun. Ksh. Second form of crash, noun from circa 1580. 1. A loud sound, as of things smashing. As in, a crash of thunder. I feel like we haven't had a thunderstorm in a little while. We need one of those. 2A, a breaking to pieces by or as if by collision. 2B, an instance of crashing, as in a plane crash, also as in a system crash. Either way, it's catastrophic. Only one of them is probably going to result in the injuries or loss of lives, so that one's a lot worse. 3, a sudden decline or failure, and that's that. A sudden decline or failure. The examples, the decline could be in population, and the failure could be a business, as in a stock market crash. 4 is slang, the process of crashing after drug intoxication. Third form of crash. Now, if I really wanted to get good with the sound effect, I would actually break something. But first of all, I'm not going to break something after every single entry here. And also, I can't make that sound with my mouth. And I'm trying to do all these with my mouth. So that's why I go. All right. Where were we? Third form of crash. Adjective from 1945. Marked by a concerted effort and effected in the shortest possible time, especially to meet emergency conditions, as in a crash renovation program. Yeah, sometimes you'll hear people say you got to go through a crash course, right? You got to learn something real fast. Marked by a concerted effort and effected in the shortest possible time to meet emergency conditions. Yep, that's pretty much what that is. Something's got to happen. Somebody's got to learn something real fast. So in the shortest amount of time possible. So it's a crash course, crash program, whatever it is. Fourth form of crash, noun from 1812. A coarse fabric used for draperies, toweling, and clothing, and for strengthening joints of cased-in books. So this is probably from the Russian word krashenina, and that is colored linen. So that makes a whole lot of sense to me. It's coarse fabric, draperies, toweling, clothing, and strengthening joints of cased-in books. Next word. It is crash cart. 2 words. Noun from 1976. A cart stocked with emergency medical equipment, supplies, and drugs for use by medical personnel, especially during efforts to resuscitate a patient experiencing cardiac arrest. Somebody needs help. Some people are going to come to help them, and they have a cart, a thing that has all the stuff that they need, or at least most of the stuff that they need in that situation. Why is it called a crash cart? There is no etymology. Why? Can we just take a guess on why? They have to run in the room with it real fast, so they might crash into the wall if they have it. No, that's probably not it. I don't know. We're going to move on to crash course. Oh, yeah, so this is like the third form of crash. Crash course is 2 words, noun from 1966. A rapid and intense course of study. Also, an experience that resembles such a course, as in, has been given a crash course in diplomacy in his first weeks in office. Probably learned a lot in that short period of time, just being thrown into the fire to learn diplomacy. Next word is crash dive. 2 words, noun from 1918. A dive made by a submarine in the least possible time. So they just did it very quickly? Crash dive with a hyphen is an intransitive verb. It's just real fast. Maybe that's why they call it a crash cart, because it's real fast. You got to get in there real fast. So that's also what a crash dive is. Just dive down in the submarine and come right back up. Next word. Crash helmet. 2 words. Noun from circa 1918. A helmet that is worn as protecting... Nope. Let's start over. A helmet that is worn, as by motorcyclists, as protection for the head in the event of an accident. You could just call it a helmet, obviously. But no, more specifically, it's a crash helmet because it is a helmet to protect your head in the event of a crash. Are there other kinds of helmets? Is there a jumpy, well, I don't know, crash helmet? It's just a helmet. It's just a helmet. Why else would you be wearing a helmet except to protect your head during a crash? There are no other reasons. Okay, last word for this episode. It is crashing. Crash with an ing. Adjective from 1924. Number 1, synonyms are utter, utter, and absolute, as in a crashing bore, bore. Like somebody is boring. Number 2, the synonym is superlative, as in a crashing effect. Superlative, that's like the thing that's like the most, the best. Crashing effect, that's a little bit of a weird example, I think. Crashingly is an adverb. Hey, those were all the words. Hey now, what do you know? Those were all the words. We're gonna sing them to you right now. We had crappy, craps, crap shoot, crap shooter, crapulous, crash, 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 crash cart, crash course. So many words that start with crash. We also had crash, dive, and crash, helmet, and crashing. We're gonna have more crash words in tomorrow's episode, but only a few. Okay, I don't even know what I just read. I have to pick one of these as the word of the episode. Okay, we had that. I don't know. Crapulous is pretty funny. That's just a funny word, but it's not a good definition though. It's not a good word. Let's see. Crash is good and generic, I guess. Let's do crash cart as the word of the episode, because it's a very important thing for medical personnel to have to go help save people's lives. We need a crash cart right now. Get it over here. We need medical equipment and supplies and drugs to help with people experience. People. You get it. Okay, that's the end of that. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. What sort of adventure will we go on today? What words will we come across on this journey of edutainment? I would like to think that this podcast is the epitome of edutainment. I'm not sure if I mean that seriously or not. Hey, so I left my water bottle in the other room and I don't feel like getting up, so if my lips get a little smacky, I apologize. I will try to minimize the thing that I literally just did. I'm going to have to think of a sound effect. We will figure out what happens. Let's see, are there any words? Maybe. Okay, the first word in this episode is crash land. 2 words with a hyphen. I'm not going to spell it. Transitive verb from 1941. To land an airplane or spacecraft under emergency conditions, usually with damage to the craft. That is transitive. It was, there's a pretty good chance that the craft is going to be damaged in a crash land. And then intransitive, to crash land an airplane or spacecraft. Crash landing, that is a noun. That's going to be what it's going to be. Next word is crash pad. 2 words, noun from 1939. I feel like I should say it more excitedly. It's a crash pad. 1, protective padding. And then we have parentheses, as on the inside of an automobile or a tank. Protective padding and the inside of a tank. If the tank crashes, then you will fly into the pad. So you don't get hurt so bad. Otherwise, you'd be smashing into a bunch of metal pieces, and I don't think that would feel very good. 2, a place to stay temporarily. Yeah, I got a place. It's temporarily. I'll go over there just to crash. It's it's like a bed. It's a pad. It's my crash pad. Crash. Next word is crash worthy. Adjective from 1966. Resistant to the effects of collision, as in crash worthy cars. More cars. I would assume that cars are getting more crash worthy as the years go on. The technology is better to make them safer. That's not a bad thing. Crash worthiness is a noun. Next word is crass. Adjective from circa 1625. 1a. The synonym is the 6a definition for the word gross. So gross and crass. But then it says especially, having or indicating such grossness of mind as precludes delicacy and discrimination. This is weird. We have to read this again. Crass is having or indicating such grossness of mind as precludes delicacy and discrimination. What an amazingly well-written definition that is. You're not delicate, you have no discrimination, you are very gross, and that is crass. You know it when you see it. 1b, being beneath one's dignity. My dignity is up here and down there. That is beneath my dignity. That's so crass. Lovey. Okay, as in the example, crass concerns of daily life. Daily life, really? It's under your dignity? It's what we all live with every day. It's what we do. We all have things that are just part of daily life. That shouldn't be below you. And then 1c, it's just used as a pejorative intensifier, as in crass flattery, also as in crass propaganda. 2, guided by or indicative of base or materialistic values. Guided by, Guided by or indicative of base or materialistic values. So crass, as in crass commercialism, also as in crash measures of success. Crash measures of success. A synonym is the word stupid. I think I can be crass sometimes, lots of times, maybe not so much on this podcast, but I sure can. Crassly is an adverb, and crassness is a noun. It is from the Latin crassus, which means thick or gross. Okay, crunch. Next is it's crassitude. Crassitude. Noun from 1679, the quality or state of being crass. Synonym is grossness. And then also, an instance of grossness is crassitude. Crunch. Next is a suffix, C-R-A-T, noun, you'd pronounce it crat. Noun, 1, advocate or partisan of a theory of government, but it's more likely a specified theory of government, as in theocrat. A theocrat is an advocate or partisan of a specified theory of government. There's lots of them. What theory of government, is that what we call those? I know I've tried to come up with that phrase before. As capitalism and communism and all the socialism and the fascism and all the other isms. I need to learn. I'm slowly learning more about them, but I have a lot to learn. What's your favorite? Should we rate them? Different people will rate them in different ways. Okay, number 2, member of a specified dominant class, as in plutocrat. I don't know so much about that. The dominant class. Okay. Cratic, that is an adjective form of crat. Crunch. Next is cratch. Cratch. Very odd word. Noun from the 13th century. One is archaic. The synonym is manger. Manger? Like where Jesus was born? In a manger? Cratch? Okay, maybe. I don't know. Number 2. Yes, it probably is. Because number 2 is a crib or rack, especially for fodder. And then also the synonym frame. I feel like I'm getting more confused as it goes on. A cratch. A cratch? A crib or rack? You just put your fodder on that crib or rack, but then it's a frame. Is it a shelf? Is it a rack? That's what I think. I don't know. Let's see. It's from Anglo-French crèche, which means manger, and there's more at the word crèche, C-R-E-C-H-E, and there's an accent on one of the E's. When are we going to get to that? Someday. Like 5 episodes from now. Crèche, maybe. That makes sense, because the word is cratch. Crouch. That's the sound effect. Next word is crate. First form, noun from the 15th century. 1. An open box of wooden slats or a usually wooden protective case or framework for shipping. 2, I would be drinking some water now. My mouth is getting dry. Number 2, the synonym is jalopy, like a broken down car. I think of Archie comics when I think of a jalopy, because didn't he have a jalopy? Did Jughead have the jalopy? Jughead have the jalopy? One of them did. Crouch. Second form of crate is a verb from 1871. To pack in a crate. Or maybe a jalopy. Crouch. Next is the word crater. C-R-A-T-E-R. Noun from 1613. 1A. The bowl-shaped depression around the orifice of a volcano is the crater. It's the part that has been depressed into the volcano and it is shaped like a bowl. It is a crater. I don't know exactly, but I know I hiked on a volcano in Hawaii. But I don't think you would have called it the crater. I don't really know what part that was. I would not have expected it to be a volcano because it was hilly, but not like a mountain, not like straight up. Number 1B, a depression formed by an impact as of a meteorite. So yeah, just a little meteorite comes down. Usually they're very, very tiny, but they can be, rock sized. What is rock sized? A rock can be anywhere from a friggin' pebble to a boulder. Don't say rock sized. Small, like the head of a chihuahua. And then, it's going to leave a little crater. But of course, the moon is getting hit with much larger meteorites than what we get hit with here because they don't have an atmosphere to break it up. So they have much larger craters from meteorites. Is it still called a meteor if it hits the moon because it doesn't go through the atmosphere? Does it become a meteorite because it goes through the atmosphere here? What's the science there? Tell me. 1C, a hole in the ground made by the explosion of a bomb or shell. 2, an eroded lesion. I assume that is talking about a lesion on your body, and then it erodes away and it leaves a crater. That's gross. Let's move on. 3, a dimple in a painted surface. Crater-like is an adjective. This is a Latin word. Did you know that? Maybe they said crater, possibly. If I mispronounced it, it's only going to bother the people who actually know Latin. So that word, crater, means mixing bowl or crater. From the Greek crater or krater, which is from keranenai, which means to mix, akin to the Sanskrit srinati, which means he mixes. So I think that this is funny that it came from basically mixing, the act of mixing, and then it became mixing bowl? Is that the order that this went? Possibly. I would think the Sanskrit came before Latin. And then, so mixing bowl, and it just became crater. The thing, like, it just doesn't really make any sense if that's how it started. If it started from mixing, and then it became bowl. It's just funny to me. Did I say crater-like is an adjective? Crater-like is an adjective. Second form of crater, verb from 1884, starting with intransitive. 1. To exhibit or form craters. 2. To fail or fall suddenly and dramatically, and the synonyms are collapse and crash. As in, the deal cratered, also as in, cratering stock prices. Nobody wants their stock to go into a crater, but maybe it should happen. Transitive verb is to form craters in. Crawl. Next is the third form of crater. It is a variation of the same word. Well, it's not the same word. The same sounding word, but spelled with a K. Crater, probably. What is that? I don't know. We'll learn later. Next is craterlet, noun from 1881. It is just a small crater. Just a tiny little crater next to a big crater. It's a craterlet. Next is C ration. That is a capital C ration. Noun from 1942. A canned field ration of the U.S. Army. Why do they call it a C ration? Is it because it's in a can and can starts with C? Or is there some other reason? We don't know. This, us non-military people don't know. Maybe even some of the military people don't even know. Who knows? Next word. Crunch. Next, it's the word you can say either craton or craton or craton. Craton? Craton. Craton. What? Craton. We'll figure it out. Noun. From 1944. A stable, relatively immobile area of the Earth's crust that forms the nuclear mass of a continent or the central basin of an ocean. A stable, relatively immobile area of the Earth's crust that forms the nuclear mass of a continent. What is this? I've never heard of this. Craton. I mean, there's the tectonic plates, but I don't understand this one totally. It's probably not that hard to understand. Cratonic or cratonic, that is an adjective. It is from the Greek kratos or kratos, which means strength. And there's more at the word hard. So these cratons are probably immensely tough. Just a guess. Next word, crunch. It's the word crunch. Craunch. It's a very silly word. Verb from 1631. The synonym is crunch. What? Crunch is also a noun. So it just means crunch? It should have been more interesting than that. Crunch. Next word is cravat. I feel so fancy saying the word cravat. Noun from circa 1656. 1. A band or scarf worn around the neck. That's all you need to know. Maybe we'll post a picture. That would be fun. Number 2, the synonym is necktie. Similar to a necktie. This is basically a word that means Croatian. Like, yeah, the company, company? It's a country, not a company. The country, Croatia, so it means Croatian, which just eventually became cravat. Maybe the Croatians love to wear cravats. But what did they call them before? I don't know. Okay, we have one more word for this episode. Crunch. It is the word crave. Verb from before the 12th century. I'm craving to know what this means. Transitive is first. 1. To ask for earnestly. Synonyms are beg and demand. As in, crave a pardon for neglect. 2a. to want greatly, and the synonym is need. I need that toy right now. I greatly want it. I crave it. As in, craves drugs. Some people do. A lot of them go get help, and it helps. Okay, to be. To yearn for, as in, crave a vanished youth. Oh, yes. That phrase, youth is wasted on the young, couldn't be more true. Okay, intransitive, to have a strong or inward desire, as in, craves after affection. Synonym is the word desire, and craver is a noun. What do we crave for? I think okay. Let's just reread the words real quick. Crash land, crash pad, crash worthy, crass, crassitude, crat, cratch, crate, crate, crater, 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 craterlet, sea ration, craton, craunch, cravat, and crave. I'm not sure. I have to pick one. I have to pick a word of the episode, and I have to keep on talking so you stay interested and you don't want to hear no silence. Maybe you do, actually. I think I will just pick crave as the word of the episode because it was what I cut off myself from saying. You can crave things and you don't even know why. Your body does, your brain does, whatever. Food. Your body craves food. Other things. Everybody's different, right? You're going to crave something in your life. But then there's crave where you just want, it's just like it said, need, greatly want. You just want something. You don't need it necessarily. You just want it. I just crave that thing. And sometimes you need to give that to yourself, whatever that is, in moderation. Everything in moderation. I'm craving some water right now. I think that this is the end of the Crave song. Crave song. Doo-doo. All right. That is a fine place to end this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Come back tomorrow. Check out the next episode. And there will be more of me saying stuff like this. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this episode of the Dictionary. Dictionary, yeah. I gotta say all the things. Please go subscribe to this podcast and share it. That's a biggie. Share it. Another biggie is writing a review. Go rate it. Do all those things. You can contact me Instagram and Twitter at dictionarypod. You can email me at dictionarypod@gmail.com. You can call my phone number. There's a Google Voice number in the show notes. I'm not going to give you my real number. You can come visit me. Here's my address. What else? Do the Patreon thing. Go watch this on YouTube. Play it at a party. Am I being played at a party right now? Woo! Yeah, I'm having so much fun. All right, this is the end of page 292. The first word is craven, adjective from the 13th century. One is archaic. The synonyms are defeated and vanquished. Number 2, lacking the least bit of courage, contemptibly faint-hearted. There's no courage in you. You are like the lion in The Wizard of Oz, just so faint-hearted. You just faint every time something happens. You are craven, I guess. Synonym is the word cowardly. I think I just put in a clip from The Lion. Did we have the word coward? That's probably what it was. If I were king of the forest. He does this weird thing when he sings that song. Craven is a noun, and cravenly is an adverb, and cravenness is a noun. Sound effect. Ooh, yeah, we'll just do a like a snake. Next is craving, noun from 1633. I'm having a craving for a definition. An intense, urgent, or abnormal desire or longing. You want it way too much, way more than you should, is what the dictionary is saying. The dictionary is judging you. Crow. Crow? No, craw. Yeah, it's craw. The pronunciation thing says K-R-O, but there's a dot on the O, so it means you got to pronounce it a certain way, and I just read it real quick and thought it said crow. No, it's craw. Noun from the 14th century. 1. The crop of a bird or insect. The crop. Is that the crop that they eat, or are you calling their mouth the crop? The crop? 2. The stomach, especially of a lower animal. Let's see. From Old English, craiga, perhaps akin to the Latin vorare, and that means to devour. And there's more at the word voracious. I always thought the craw was just your mouth, just like your shove it in your craw. Next is crawdad. Crawdad. Is there a craw mom? No. Crawdad, noun from circa 1905. The synonym is the number 1 definition for, I say crayfish, but I know some people say crawfish, even though that pronunciation is not here. Crayfish, number 1 for crawdad. Okay. But then it says, used chiefly west of the Appalachians. So the Appalachians are on the eastern side of the country, but so on the west side, they say crawdad. Next is crawfish. First form, noun from 1624. So I guess, wait, there is a whole other word that's crawfish? I thought they just said crawfish for crayfish. Now I'm extra confused. Crawfish, noun, 1624 said that. Number 1 synonym is the number 1 definition for crayfish. So yes, same thing. And number 2, the synonym is spiny lobster. So the reason it didn't say crawfish at crayfish, which, yes, we are going to read later. Don't worry. Chill out. The reason they didn't put the pronunciation there is because it is literally a whole other spelling. So it needs its own entry. Second form of crawfish, intransitive verb from 1842. To retreat from a position. Also, just back out. As in, I crawfished as fast as I could. And that is a quote from Mark Twain. Did he say it, or did he put it in a book? You're retreating. I'm assuming crayfish like to retreat quickly. When somebody tries to catch them and kill them, yeah, they're going to retreat. So you can retreat too and call it crawfishing or crawfished. Next word is crawl. First form, verb from the 14th century. 1. To move slowly in a prone position without or as if without the use of limbs. What? Weird. I mean, yes, crawling around looks... which crawling are we talking about? Are we talking like the crab crawl or just on your belly and you're crawling around as if your limbs, can't use them so much. You got to mostly use your body and just maybe your hands or where your shoulders are, like a walrus. That's all you can do. You can just crawl around. As in, the snake crawled into its hole. Yeah, snakes don't have no limbs, usually. Number 2, to move or progress slowly or laboriously, as in traffic crawls at 10 miles an hour. That's one of my least favorite things, is just sitting in front of a car 5 or 10 miles an hour. You let off the gas, you hit the brake. You let off the brake a little, so you go, and then you hit the brake. You let off the brake, and then you hit the brake. And you can't pay attention. It's very hard to pay attention, but you have to pay attention, otherwise you're going to hit the car, and that's going to be a whole dumb thing. Crawling traffic. I beseech you. Is that what they say? Okay, number 3, to advance by guile or servility, as in crawling into favor by toadying on to his boss. Crawling into favor by toadying to his boss. It's like toady, like a frog and a toad, toady with ing. 4, to spread by extending stems or tendrils, as in a crawling vine. 5a, to be alive or swarming with, or as if with, creeping things, as in a kitchen crawling with ants. No, thank you. I don't need none of them where I live. I know they're natural, it's fine, but yeah. 5b, to have the sensation of insects creeping over one. That's even more gross for me and many people. Some people don't mind it, but yeah, to have a sensation of insects creeping over one yourself, as in the story made her flesh crawl. 6, to fail to stay evenly spread, and this is used of paint, varnish, or glaze. So if you painted something and it's sitting vertical and it wasn't evenly spread out, then it's going to drip. And people like to say it's crawling, because the drip is probably very slow. It's just a crawl of a drip. That'd be a good mean thing to say to somebody. You're a crawl of a drip. Okay. Where were we? There we were. Transitive time. 1, to move upon, in, or as if in a creeping manner, as in all the creatures that crawl the earth. 2, to reprove harshly, as in they got no good right to crawl me for what I wrote. I said that so bad. Let's try it again. They got no good right to crawl me for what I wrote. That is a quote from Marjorie K. Rawlings. They got no good right to crawl me for what I wrote, to reprove harshly. Fascinating sentence. Can you even hear that? Second form of crawl, noun from 1818. 1a, to act, the act or action of crawling. 1b, slow or laborious progress. It's like the traffic, such a slow, laborious process. 1c is chiefly British, a going from one pub to another. Oh, that's not just British. The Americans very much love their crawls. Pub crawl, bar crawl. I have attended. I have not really participated. That's just not me. Number 2, a fast swimming stroke executed in a prone position with alternating overarm strokes and a flutter kick. You got to flutter your kick. I'm not a very good swimmer. I've tried this. I can sort of do it. I don't know. I don't float so good. And the kicking is all weird. The breathing, that's the worst part, though. Try to do the thing and the tilt of the head and the timing is not. I didn't really practice, though. Okay, number 3, lettering that moves vertically or horizontally across a television or motion picture screen to give information, as performer credits or news bulletins. You look at the bottom of your CNN screen. there's a bottom thing with information going by. It's crawling. It's a crawl. Maybe it's going vertically on the other side of the screen, the left side or the right side. That's probably called a crawl too. The text at the beginning of Star Wars, that is a crawl. Next is crawler, noun from 1607. One that crawls. 2, a vehicle, as a crane, that travels on endless chain belts. It's just always crawling. The crane on the thing is always crawling. Always crawling. We're always crawling. Let's go do that thing called crawling. Next word is crawl space. Noun from 1946. A shallow, unfinished space beneath the first floor or under the roof of a building, especially for access to plumbing or wiring. I don't know why, but I want a place that has a crawl space. Do I make a little, like a kid's fort, like what a kid would do, but as an adult, like this, just the space to get away, a peaceful little, maybe it's a little meditation room. I don't know. Maybe you play some old Nintendo games in there. I don't know. I just want a little space like that. I don't know why. It'd be very comforting. The Pixar building, they have all these like secret rooms and stuff. Why do we love these so much? I don't know. I just want one. Next is crawlway. Crawlway. Noun from 1843. A low passageway, as in a cave, that can be traversed only by crawling. You are not allowed to traverse it any other way other than crawling, probably just because you literally cannot do it any way but crawling. I need to do more caving, I think. Shh. Next is crawly. Adjective from 1857. Number 1, the synonym is the number 1 definition for the word creepy. They're creepy and they're crawly. I think it's they're creepy and they're spooky and they're creepy, but I don't know. And all together, so it's probably creepy and they're kooky. Maybe that's what it is. Not crawly. Number 2, marked by crawling or slow motion, as in crawly creatures. Crawly creatures are the best. I don't know where those songs come from. It just hits me. Crawly, I don't know. It's just a silly word. But also not, I don't want my skin all feeling crawly. Next word is crayfish. Noun from the 14th century. 1, any of numerous freshwater decapod crustaceans resembling the lobster, but usually much smaller. Let's see, the family, it gives us many family names for these crayfish. Astacidea, maybe, Camberidae, and Parastacidae. I hope I didn't disrespect anybody, or crayfish, or lobsters for those pronunciations. And then number 2, the synonym is just spiny lobster. What's that lobster song? Rock lobster. Spiny lobster. Doesn't work so good. It's too many syllables. By folk etymology, it's from Old High German krebis, which means crab, and there's more at the word crab. So it's kind of like a crab, although it's not. Our lobsters are sort of like crabs. Yeah, I guess it's kind of crabby. Next word, the first form of, how do you say this? I second guess myself, but it's also fun. Crayon or cran, or somewhere in between. Cran. Let me see if I can actually say these differently. Cran, crayon, crayon. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. People say it differently. It is a noun from 1644. Number 1, a stick of white or colored chalk or of colored wax used for writing or drawing. May I please use it for something else? For eating? And then number 2, a crayon drawing. Crayon. Why do they have to separate the fact that they could be white or colored? I guess if you say that there's colors, then you can't really include white to that because it's maybe technically not a color, but it kind of is. It depends on who you talk to, probably. I don't know. It just seems like white is included in that. I don't know. This is French crayon, which means crayon or pencil. Diminutive of craie, which means chalk. And our last word is the second form of crayon, transitive verb from 1662. I am so overthinking how I am saying the word. I hope I'm saying it the way that I normally say it, but I'm not sure. Crayon. To draw with crayon. Crayonist. That is a noun. If I would like you to call the 5-year-old who's drawing with a crayon a crayonist. It sounds very official. Such a good crayonist you are. Weird word. Okay, so we had today craven, craving, crawdad, crawfish, crawl, crawler, crawl space, crawlway, crawly, crayfish, crayon, and crayon. I shall pick crawl space as the word of the episode. I want a crawl space. Give me a crawl space. I'm gonna put some pillows down in the crawl space. The crawl space. All right, that's it. That's the end. I'm sorry you want more. You're gonna have to wait. That was the end of page 292. And hello. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Dictionary. This is the top of page 293, and we're going to maybe keep this episode a little bit simpler and quicker. And then if you hate it, you can let me know. If you love it, you can also let me know. Okay, the first word is the first form of craze. C-R-A-Z-E, first form, verb from the 14th century. 1. It's obsolete, and the synonyms are break and shatter. When something is broken, it's crazy. No. Number 2, to produce minute cracks on the surface or glaze of, as in crazed glass. So that seems like that's it's similar to glaze. Craze. The glaze has been crazed. Number 3, to make insane or as if insane. As in crazed by pain and fear. That's a rough way to be crazed. Those were all transitive. Now we have intransitive. Number 1 is archaic. Synonyms are the same ones from before, but backwards. Shatter and break. Number 2, to become insane. In the membrane. I added that last part. 3, to develop a mesh of fine cracks. I wonder why these are in a different order than the transitive ones were. The etymology is from Middle English, crasen or crasen, which means to crush or craze. That craze is probably the ceramics, the glaze one. Also of Scandinavian origin, akin to the old Swedish word krasa with a K, which means to crush. So if you are going insane, you become crazed, you're being crushed, I don't know. Okay, we're going to move on. The sound effect is zoop. Next is the second form of craze, noun from 1812. 1, an exaggerated and often transient enthusiasm, and the synonym is mania. the word transient sort of throws me off. It's a transient enthusiasm, as in the latest craze in music. You know what the latest craze in podcasts is? You guessed it. Not this one. Number 2, a crack in a surface or coating, as of glaze or enamel. A synonym for, I guess it's all, but really I think it would be mostly number 1, is the word fashion. The latest craze is the latest fashion. What's the latest craze in fashion? Okay. Zoop. Next word is the first form of the word crazy. Adjective from 1566, 1A, full of cracks or flaws. Synonym is unsound. So I guess that's how we got the word craze and crazy, to talk about somebody who is insane, which is not the nicest way to say that, but they're just the words that we have, that we've been using. So it sounds like it came from the glaze first, cracked, flawed, and then the person's brain. I'm not saying this is what is actually the case. I'm just saying this is the way that I'm figuring this out. It's crazed, cracked, flawed, crazy. Okay, makes sense. We have an example for this one. They were very crazy, wretched cabins. That is a quote from Charles Dickens. They were very crazy, wretched cabins. Like, yeah, the houses, the cabins. 1B, synonyms are crooked and askew. 2A, synonyms are mad and insane. I have to quickly go back to 1A. Full of cracks or flaws. We're not talking about a person or a thing that's crazy. Just it's cracked, like the cabins were literally cracked or flawed and unsound. I just had to fix that in my own crazy brain. Okay, 2A, synonyms are mad and insane, as in yelling like a crazy man. I am doing that into a microphone all by myself. 2B, 1, synonym is impractical, as in a crazy plan. That plan is so crazy it just might work. 2B2, the synonym is erratic, as in crazy drivers. Please stay away from me. 2C, being out of the ordinary, and the synonym is unusual, as in a taste for crazy hats. Maybe I need to wear some unusual hats. Probably not. 3A, distracted with desire or excitement, as in a thrill-crazy mob. 3B, absurdly fond. The synonym is infatuated, as in he's crazy about the girl. That's the latest craze in his life. 3C, passionately preoccupied, and the synonym is obsessed, as in crazy about boats. Okay, crazily is an adverb, craziness is a noun, and the phrase like crazy means to an extreme degree, as in everyone dancing like crazy. They are dancing in an extreme degree. Next word, zoop. Second form of crazy, noun from 1867. One who is or acts crazy, especially such a one associated with a radical or extremist political cause. That crazy is crazy. I have to do the sound effect. Zoop. Third form of crazy, adverb from 1887. Synonyms are extremely and wildly, as in crazy good. He or she is crazy good at driving a boat. They are crazy about boats. I don't know. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Okay, next is crazy bone. 2 words, noun from 1876, and the synonym is funny bone. Maybe crazy bone was the first term for that. I guess we'll find out when we get to funny bone. It's my least favorite bone in the body because it hurts when you hit it. And it's not the bone, it's like a nerve or something. Zoop. Next word is crazy quilt. 2 words. Noun from 1886. 1. A patchwork quilt without a design. So you just start making a quilt and you have no plan in place, and then it just sort of comes together. That quilt is so crazy. Number 2, synonyms are jumble and hodgepodge, as in a crazy quilt of regulations. That's not a good idea. Zoop! Next word is crazy quilt again, but this time it has a hyphen in the middle. Adjective from 1888, resembling a crazy quilt. And the synonym is haphazard, as in a crazy quilt system. I don't think I've ever heard this phrase used, crazy quilt. Here's another one that's silly. Zoop! Crazy weed. This one is 1 word, noun from circa 1889, and the synonym is loco weed. Loco is Spanish for crazy. Loco weed, crazy weed. But what is loco weed? We have to wait until the L's to find out. Zoop. Next is CRC, all caps, abbreviation for Civil Rights Commission. Zoop. Next word is C-reactive protein. Capital C hyphen reactive, next word, protein. Noun from 1955. A protein present in blood serum in various abnormal states as inflammation or neoplasia. And this is from C polysaccharide, which is a polysaccharide found in the cell wall of pneumococci and precipitated by this protein. Also from the word carbohydrate. Oh, maybe the C stands for carbohydrate. Okay. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Next word is the first form of the word creak, spelled C-R-E-A-K. This is an intransitive verb from 1583. To make a prolonged grating or squeaking sound, often as a result of being worn out. Also, to proceed slowly with or as if with creaking wheels, as in, the story creaks along to a dull conclusion. That's probably not a story I want to read. So many things creak. Doors creak, chairs creak, all the stuff. Beds creak. You gotta either fix them up or put some WD-40 on there or whatever. This is from Middle English crekin, which means to croak. Soup. Next word is the second form of creak, noun from 1604. It is a rasping or grating noise. Creak. That's the sound effect I should have done. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Zoop. Next word is creaky with a Y. Adjective from 1834. 1. Marked by creaking, and the synonym is squeaky, as in creaky shoes. I have definitely had squeaky shoes in the past. Okay, number 2, showing signs of deterioration or decrepitude, as in a creaky old house. Also, a creaky economy. The economy is deteriorating and has decrepitude. Creakily is an adverb, and creakiness is a noun. One more word for this episode. Zoop, zoopy doop doop doop. It is the first form of the word cream. C-R-E-A-M. Noun from the 14th century. 1. The yellowish part of milk containing from 18 to about 40% butterfat. And yes, milk, I think just raw milk has a yellowish part. 2A, a food prepared with cream is just called cream. 2B, something having the consistency of cream, especially a usually emulsified medicinal or cosmetic preparation. Lots of makeups and things come in creams. Number 3, the choicest part. The synonym is best, as in the cream of the crop. It's the stuff, I think, it comes from the thing that's like the cream floats to the top, and so it's like the best part or something. I don't know. That's the cream of the crop is the best. 4, it's the number 1 definition for the word creamer, which will be in tomorrow's episode. You just call it cream. Go put some cream in your coffee. It's creamer. 5A, a pale yellow. And 5B, a cream-colored animal. The etymology, what does it say? Anything interesting? From Welsh cramin, which means scab or crust. Gross. Yeah, that's about the most information we're going to get here. Okay, so now I'm just going to think of, if I put some like whipped cream in a hot chocolate, I'm just going to think of a scab or a crust. Sorry to ruin everything for you. Okay, the words were craze, crazy, crazy bone, crazy quilt, crazy weed, CRC, C, reactive protein, creak, creaky, and cream. Oh boy. Okay, let's pick. Didn't have a whole lot of stuff going on. I think I'm just gonna pick craze. No, let's do craze. What's the latest craze? Tell me what you are all crazy about right now. I mean, TikTok has been that's a craze. Craze. What's your craze? What's the craze going on here today's? I hope this podcast becomes a craze. All right, that's it. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye.